An Acknowledgement by Henry King. Read for LibriVox.org by Public Domain Scholar. An Acknowledgement. My best of friends, what needs a chain to tie, one by your merit-bound votary? Think you I have some plot upon my peace? I would this bondage change for a release, since 'twas my fate your prisoner to be. Heaven knows I nothing fear but liberty. Yet you do well that study to prevent, after so rich a stock of favour spent on one so worthless, lest my memory should let so dear an obligation die without record. This made my precious friend her token as an antidote to send against forgetful poisons, that as they who vespers late and early matins say upon their beads, so on this linked score in golden numbers I might reckon o'er your virtues and my debt, which does surmount the trivial laws of popular account. For that within this emblematic knot your beauteous mind and my own fate is wrote. The sparkling constellation which combines the lock is your dear self, whose worth outshines most of your sex. So solid and so clear, you like a perfect diamond appear, casting from your example fuller light than those dim sparks which glaze the brow of night, and gladding all your friends, as doth the ray of that east star which wakes the cheerful day. With the black map of death and discontent behind that adamantine firmament, that luckless figure which, like Calvary, stands strewed and copied out in skulls, is I, whose life your absence clouds, and makes my time move blindfold in the dark, epileptic line. Then wonder not if my sun removed, so low within the western tropic run, my eyes no day in this horizon see, since where you are not, all night is to me. Lastly, the anchor which in fasten lies upon a pair of depths sadly applies that monument of rest which harbour must our shipwrecked fortunes in a road of dust. So then how late soe'er my joyless life be tired out in this affection strife, though my tempestuous fancy, like the sky, travail with storms, and through my watery eye sorrow's high-going waves bring many a leak, though sighs blow loud till my heart's cordage break, though faith in all my wishes prove untrue, yet death shall fix and anchor me with you. 'Tis some poor comfort that this mortal scope will period though never crown my hope. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
An Acknowledgement by Frank R. Heine. Read for LibriVox.org by mleigh. From him to her, the receipt of a gift he cannot label leads the jumbler to recite. I thank you for the hickey-dee, the thingamabob you sent, the trickamadoos, the very thing on which my heart was bent. The do-funny style and color puts all doodads to shame. The jigger-marie's the swellest thing that ever bore that name. Appreciation's most sincere, but I'll no longer lie. Pray be a sport and tell me quick, what is the thing and why? End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
After Great Pain by Emily Dickinson. Recorded for LibriVox by Bartholomew Begley. Dublin, November 2024. After great pain, a formal feeling comes. The nerves sit ceremonious like tombs. The stiff heart questions, was it he that bore? And yesterday, or centuries before? The feet mechanical go round a wooden way, of ground or air or aught, regardless grown, a quartz contentment like a stone. This is the hour of lead, remembered if outlived, as freezing persons recollect the snow. First chill, then stupor, then the letting go. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
And Thou Art Dead, as Young and Fair, by Lord Byron. Read for LibriVox by MoonLylith. Her quanto manus est cum reliquis versae quam tui meminisse. And Thou art dead, as young and fair as aught of mortal birth, and form so soft, and charm so rare, too soon return to earth, though earth receive them in her bed, and o'er the spot the crowd may tread in carelessness or mirth. There is an eye which could not brook a moment on that grave to look. I will not ask where thou liest low, nor gaze upon the spot. There flowers or weeds at will may grow, so I behold them not. It is enough for me to prove that what I loved and long must love, like common earth, can rot. To me there needs no stone to tell. 'Tis nothing that I loved so well. Yet did I love thee to the last as fervently as thou, who didst not change through all the past, and canst not alter now. The love where death has set his seal, nor age can chill, nor rival steal, nor falsehood disavow. And what were worse, thou canst not see, or wrong, or change, or fault in me. The better days of life were ours, the worst can be but mine. The sun that cheers, the storm that lowers, shall never more be thine. The silence, the dreamless sleep, I envy now too much to weep, nor need I to repine that all those charms have passed away. I might have watched through long decay. The flower in ripened bloom unmatched must fall the earliest prey. Though by no hand untimely snatched, the leaves must drop away. And yet it were a greater grief to watch it withering leaf by leaf than see it plucked today, since earthly eye but ill can bear to trace the change, too foul from fair. I know not if I could have borne to see thy beauties fade. The night that followed such a morn had worn a deeper shade. The day without a cloud hath passed, and thou wert lovely to the last, extinguished, not decayed, as stars that shoot along the sky shine brightest as they fall from high. As once I wept, if I could weep, my tears might well be shed, to think I was not near to keep one vigil o'er thy bed, to gaze how fondly on thy face, to fold thee in a faint embrace, uphold thy drooping head, and show that love, however vain, nor thou nor I can feel again. Yet how much less it were to gain, though thou hast left me free, the loveliest things that still remain. Then thus remember thee, the olive vine that cannot die, through dark and dread eternity, returns again to me, and more thy buried love endears than aught, except its living years. February 1812. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
A Ballad in Blank Verse of the Making of a Poet by John Davidson. Read for LibriVox.org by Arden. August 4th, 2024. A Ballad in Blank Verse of the Making of a Poet. His father's house looked out across a firth, broad-bosomed like a mere, beside a town far in the north where time could take his ease, and change hold holiday, where old and new weltered upon the border of the world. Oh now, he thought, a youth whose sultry eyes, bold brow, and wanton mouth were not all lust, but haunted from within and from without by memories, visions, hopes, divine desires. Now may my life beat out upon this shore, a prouder music than the winds and waves can compass in their haughtiest moods. I need no world more spacious than the region here, the foam-embroidered firth, a purple path for argosies that still on pinion speed, or fiery-hearted cleave with iron limbs and bows precipitous the pliant sea, the sloping shores that fringe the velvet tides, with heavy bullion and with golden lace of restless pebble woven and fine spun sand, the villages that sleep the winter through, and wakening with the spring keep festival, all summer and all autumn, this grey town that pipes the morning up before the lark, with shrieking steam, and from 100 stalks lacquers the sooty sky, where hammers clang on iron hulls and cranes in harbours creak, rattle and swing whole cargoes on their necks, where men sweat gold that others hoard or spend, and lurk like vermin in their narrow streets. This old grey town, this firth, the further strand spangled with hamlets, and the wooded steeps, whose rocky tops behind each other press, fantastically carved like antique helms, high hung in heaven's cloudy armory, is world enough for me. Here daily dawn burns through the smoky east, with fire-shod feet the sun treads heaven, and steps from hill to hill, downward before the night that still pursues his crimson wake. Here winter plies his craft, soldiering the years but ice. Here spring appears, caught in a leafless brake, her garland torn, breathless with wonder, and the tears half dried upon her rosy cheek. Here summer comes and wastes his passion like a prodigal, right royally, and here her golden gains, free-handed as a harlot autumn spends, and here are men to know, women to love. His father, woman-hearted, great of soul, wilful and proud, save for one little shrine that held a pinchbeck cross, had closed and barred the many mansions of his intellect. My son, he said, to him, fresh from his firth and dreams at evening, while his mother sat, she also with her dingy crucifix and feeble rushlight praying for her boy. My son, have you decided for the Lord? Your mother's heart and mine are exercised for your salvation. Will you turn to Christ? Now, young and strong, you hanker for the world. But think, the longest life must end at last, and then come death and judgment. Are you fit to meet your God before the great white throne? If on the instant death should summon you, what doom would the eternal judge pronounce? Depart from me, or sit on my right hand? In life it is your privilege to choose, but after death you have no choice at all. Die unbelieving, and in endless woe you must believe throughout eternity. My son, reject not Christ. He pleads through me. The Holy Spirit uses my poor words. How it would fill your mother's heart and mine, and God's great heart with joy unspeakable, were you a helpless sinner now to cry, Lord, I believe, help thou mine unbelief. He clenched his teeth. His blood fulfilled the brine of sunset in his dreams boomed in his ears. A vision rose before him, and the sound, husky and plaintive, of his father's voice seemed unintelligible and afar. He saw Apollo on the Dardan beach. The waves lay still, the winds hung motionless, and held their breath to hear the rebel god, conquered and doomed with stormy sobbing song, and crashing discords of his golden lyre, reluctantly compel the walls of Troy, unquarried and unhewn, in supple lines and massive strength to rise about the town. A quavering voice shattered his fantasy. His father's pleading done, his mother cried, but twitching forehead, scalding tears that broke the seal of wrinkled eyelids, mortised hands, where knuckles jutted white, Almighty God! Almighty God! Oh, save my foolish boy! He glanced about the dreary parlor, clenched his teeth, and once again his blood, fulfilled of brine, of sunset, and his dreams, exhaled a vision, while his parents clutched their hearts, expecting his conversion instantly, and listened if perchance they might o'erhear the silent heavens burst into applause. Over one lost repentant, he beheld the Cyprian Aphrodite, all one blush and glance of passion, from the violet sea step inland, fastening as she went her zone. She reached the gulf that opened in the ground, deep in a leafless wood, and waited there, battling the darkness with her wistful eyes. Then suddenly she blanched and blushed again, and her divinely pulsing body bowed, with outstretched arms over the yawning earth. Straightway Adonis, wonder-struck and pale, stole from the sepulchre, a moonbeam wraith. But Aphrodite, with a golden cry that echoed round the world and shook the stars, caught him and thawed him in her warm embrace, and murmuring kisses bore him to her bower. Then all the trees were lit with budding flames of emerald, and all the meads and leas, coverts and shady places, glades and dells, odored and dimly stained with opening flowers, and loud with love songs of impassioned birds, became the shrine and hostel of the spring. His wanton face grew sweet and wonderful, beholding Aphrodite. But they thought, his father and his mother, sick with hope, it was the Holy Ghost's effectual call. Entranced, he rose and glided from the room. They, undeceived, like little children, sobbed. Slowly he broke his mother's tender heart, until she died in anguish for his sins. His father then besought him on his knees, with tears and broken speech and pleading hands. "My son," he said, "you open all the wounds, daily and nightly, of the Lord of Heaven. You killed your mother, you are killing me. Is it not sin enough, poor foolish boy? For this was in the north, where time stands still, and change holds holiday, where old and new welter upon the border of the world, and savage faith works woe. Oh, let me be!" the dreamer cried, and rushing from the house, he sought the outcast Aphrodite, dull, tawdry, unbeautiful, but still divine, e'en in the dark streets of a noisome port. At times he wrote his dreams, rebellious still, that he should be constrained to please himself, as one is eased by roaring on the rack. Desperate he grew, and wandering by his firth, exclaimed against the literature he loved. "Lies, lies," he muttered, "and the noblest lies." For no man ever understood a woman, no woman ever understood a man, and no man ever understood a man, no woman ever understood a woman, and no man ever understood himself, no woman ever understood herself. Why should we lie? What penalty is this, to write and sing and think and speculate, hag-ridden by ideas, or twixt the shafts like broken horses, blinded, bitted, reined, and whipped about the world by steel-tagged creeds, wasted and sad with wantonness, and wan with fantasy, a furnace 7 times hot, wherein he tried all things, and wrung with woe to see his father dying for his sake, and by the memory of his mother's death. He yielded tamely and professed himself, convinced of sin, but confident in Christ. Then to the table of the Lord he went, ghastly with haunted eyes that shone, and limbs that scarcely bore him, like a heretic, led to the chamber where tormentors stood, muffled and silent, earnest to explore, with cunning flames and cords and engines dire, the sunken wells of pain, the gloomy gulfs, obscurely wallowing in the souls of men. In solemn tones the grey-haired presbyter, "This is my body which is given for you. This do in memory of me." The boy, whose blood within him clamored like a storm, uttered a smothered cry and rose, but lo! the happy triumph on his father's face. Why do I not die now, like husks of corn, the bread like vitriol, the sip of wine? I eat and drink damnation to myself, to give my father's troubled spirit peace. The stealthy elders creaked about the floor, guiding the cup and platter, looking down. The children in the gallery smirked and watched, who took the deepest draught, and ancient dames crumpled their folded handkerchiefs, and pressed with knuckly fingers sprays of southern wood. Ah! Down no silver beam the Holy Grail glided from heaven, a crimson cup that throbbed as throbs the heart divine. No aching sounds of scarce-heard music stole into the aisle, like disembodied pulses beating love. But in the evening by the purple firth he walked, and saw brown locks upon the brine, and pale hands beckoned him to come away, where mermaids with their harps and golden combs sit throned upon the carven antique poops of treasure ships, and soft sea dirges sing over the green gilt bones of mariners. He saw vast forms and dreadful draw aside the flowing crimson curtains of the west, with far-off thunderous rustle, and threatened him from heaven's perch. Beneath his feet the earth quaked like a flame-sapped bridge that spans the wave of fiery Phlegethon, and in the wind an icy voice was borne from some waste place, piercing him to the marrow. Night came down, and still he wandered helpless by the firth. The under-clouded skies gleamed black and smooth like cooling pitch, but when the moon broke out and poured athwart the glittering ebony, torrents of molten silver, hurtling thoughts trooped forth disorderly. "I'll have no creed," he said. "Though I be weakest of my kind, I'll have no creed. Lo, there is but one creed, the vulture phoenix that forever tears the soul of man in chains of flesh and blood. Riveted to the earth, the clime, the time, change but its plumage. Gluttonous bird of prey, more fatal than all famines, plagues, and wars, I wrench you off, although my soul go too. With bloody claws and dripping beak unfleshed, spread out your crackling vans that darken heaven. Rabid and cursed, fly yelping where you list. Henceforth I shall be God, for consciousness is God. I suffer, I am God, this self that all the universe combines to quell is greater than the universe, and I am that I am. To think and not be God? It cannot be. Lo, I shall spread this noose, and gather to myself a band of gods, an army, and go forth against the world, conquering and to conquer snowy steppes of Muscovy, frost-bound Siberian plains, and scalding sands of Ethiopia, where groans oppress the bosom of the wind, and men in gangs are driven to icy graves, or lashed to brutish slavery under suns, whose sheer beams scorch and flay like burning blades, shall ring enfranchised with divine delight. At home where millions mope, in labyrinths of hideous streets astray without a clue, unfed, unsexed, unsouled, unhelped, I bring life with the gospel. Up, quit you like gods! Possessed with this, upon his father's hour of new-found happiness he burst and cried, "Father, my father, I have news to tell. I know the word that shall uproot the thrones of oldest monarchs, and forever lay the doting phantom with the triple crown. A word dynamic with the power of doom to blast conventicles and parliaments, unsolder federations crumble states, and in the fining pot cast continents. A word that shall a new beginning be, and out of chaos make the world again. Behold, my father, we who heretofore, fearful and weak, deep-dyed in Stygian creeds, against the shafts of pain and woe, have walked the throbbing earth most vulnerable still, in every pore and nerve, we trembling things, who but an hour ago in frantic dread burned palsied women, and with awe beheld a shaven pate mutter Aladdin's spell over a biscuit. We, even we, are gods. Nothing beneath, about us, or above is higher than ourselves. Henceforth degree, authority, religion, government, employer, and employed are obsolete as penal torture or astrology. The mighty spirit of the universe, conscious in us, shall, suddenly aware of gaping horror on his father's face, he paused, and he, the old man, white as death, with eyes like stars upon the crack of doom, rose quaking, and, "The unpardonable sin! The unpardonable sin!" he whispered hoarse. This was the sin of Lucifer, to make himself God's equal. If I may, my son, if it be God's will, I shall go to hell, to be beside you. I shall be there first. I have not many hours to live, I thought, here as I sat beside your mother's chair. Ay, my boy, I wander somewhat. I'll sit again. Let me remember now how happy I have been today, my son, a member of the Church of Christ, and I beside him at communion, seeing him, and seeing at the window of heaven the face of her who bore him, sweet and glorified. At home I sit and think that, as he lived, most absolute in sin, he shall, like Paul, be as insatiable in doing well. I think how, when my time comes, I shall go and tell his mother of his holy life, of labor for the Lord. And then I see my boy at last appear before the throne. By what right comest thou here? The judge demands. He hangs his head, but round about him throng a crowd of souls who cry, he was our staff. He led us here. Sit thou on my right hand. The sentence falls, and we, my wife and I, awaiting you. There came a devil in, wearing the likeness of my boy, and said he was predestined for a reprobate, a special vessel of the wrath of God. Holy he was begotten, holy born. What tearful prayers attended all his life, cherished with scrupulous love, and shown the path to heaven by her who ne'er shall see him there. For out of this there comes but blasphemy, and everlasting hell. Ah, who are these? My soul is hustled by a multitude of wild-eyed prodigals and wrenched about. Boy, help me to blaspheme. I cannot face without you her that nursed you at her breast. Let us curse God together, and going forth, plunge headlong in the waves, and be at rest, in hell forevermore. Some end to this awful gnawing pain in every part, or certainty that this will never end. This, now, is hell. There was a paltry way, of fooling God some casuists sit upon. How went it?
Yes.
That God did foreordain, and so foreknew that those who should believe should enter glory of their own free will. Ah, pink of blasphemies that makes of God an impotent spectator. Let us too believe in this, and that shall damn us best. I dare but cannot, for the Lord of hosts, the God of my salvation, is my God. He, ere the world began, predestined me to life eternal. To the bitter end, against my will I persevere, a saint, and find my will at length the will of God. What is my son, and what the hopes and fears of my dead wife and me before the flame of God's pure purpose, his, from whose dread eyes the earth and heaven fled and found no place? Beside the crystal river I shall walk forever with the Lord. The city of gold, the jasper walls thereof, the gates of pearl, the bright foundation stones of emerald, of sapphire chrysoprase of every gem, and the high triumph of unending day shall be but wildfire on a summer eve, beside the exceeding glory of delight, that shall entrance me with the constant thought of how in hell through all eternity my son performs the perfect will of God. Amen. I come, Lord Jesus. If his sin be not to death, heaven opens. Thus he died. For this was in the north, where time stands still,
And change holds holiday.
where old and new welter upon the border of the world, and savage creeds can kill. The trembling boy knelt down, but dared to think a dreadful death, to die believing in so dull a God, a useless hell, a jewel huckster's heaven. Forthwith it flashed like light across his mind. If it be terrible into the hands of the living God to fall, how much more dire to sicken face to face, like our sad age, chained to an icy corpse of deity, decked though it be and painted and embalmed. He took his father's hand and kissed his brow, and weeping like a woman watched him long. Then softly rose and stepped into the night. He stood beside the house a little space, hearing the wind speak low in whispers quaint, an irresponsible and wandering voice. But soon he hastened to the water's edge, for from the shore there came sea minstrelsy, of waves that broke upon the hollow beach, with liquid sound of purling surges blent, cymbals and muffled drums and dulcimers, sparse diamonds in the dead black dome of night. A few stars lit the moon-deserted air, and swarthy heaving of the firth obscure. He, knowing every rock and sandy reach, all night unfalteringly walked the shore, while tempest after tempest rose and fell within his soul, that like an o'erwrought sea labored to burst its continent and hang some glittering trophy high among the stars. At last the fugal music of the tide, with cymbals, muffled drums, and dulcimers,
into his blood a measured rhythm beat,
and gave his passion scope and way in words. How unintelligent, how blind am I, how vain, he cried. A god, a mole, a worm, an engine frail of brittle bones conjoined, with tissue pat, with nerves transmitting force, and driven by water thick and colored red, that may for some few pence a day be hired, and thousands to be shot at. O God, that lies and steals and murders, such a God, passionate, dissolute, incontinent, a God that starves in thousands, and ashamed, or shameless in the workhouse lurks, that sweats in mines and foundries, an enchanted God, whose nostrils in a palace breathe perfume, whose cracking shoulders hold the palace up, whose shoeless feet are rotting in the mire, a God who said a little while ago, I'll have no creed, and of his godhead straight patched up a creed unwittingly, with which he went and killed his father. Subtle lie that tempts our weakness always, magical, and magically changed to suit the time. Lo, ye shall be as gods, the serpent's cry. Rose up again, ye shall be sons of God. And now the glozing word is in the air, thou shalt be God by simply taking thought. And if one could, believing this, convert 1,000,000 to be upright, chaste, and strong, gentle and tolerant, it were but to found a new religion, bringing new offense, setting the child against the father still. Some thought imprisons us. We set about to bring the world within the woven spell. Our ruthless creeds that bathe the earth in blood, our moods by alchemy made dogmas of, the petrifaction of a metaphor. No creed for me. I am a man apart, a mouthpiece for the creeds of all the world. A soulless life that angels may possess, or demons haunt, wherein the foulest things may loll at ease beside the loveliest. A martyr for all mundane moods to tear, the slave of every passion, and the slave of heat and cold, of darkness and of light, a trembling lyre for every wind to sound. I am a man set by to overhear the inner harmony, the very tune of nature's heart. To be a thoroughfare for all the pageantry of time, to catch the mutterings of the spirit of the hour, and make them known, and of the lowliest to be the minister, and therefore reign, prince of the powers of the air, lord of the world, and master of the sea. Within my heart I'll gather all the universe, and sing as sweetly as the spheres, and I shall be the first of men to understand himself. And lo, to give me courage comes the dawn, crimsoning the smoky east, and still the sun with fire-shod feet shall step from hill to hill. Downward before the night, winter shall ply his ancient craft, soldiering the years but ice, and spring appear, caught in a leafless break, breathless with wonder and the tears half dried upon her rosy cheek. Summer shall come, and waste his passion like a prodigal, right royally, and autumn spend her gold, free-handed as a harlot. Men to know, women to love are waiting everywhere. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
A Bear Story by Frank R. Heine. Read for LibriVox.org by mleigh. Nobody loves a man that's bald. I've often heard it said. But why does love then laugh at locks? It makes me scratch my head. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Beachy Head by Charlotte Turner Smith, read for LibriVox.org by Professor Tom. On thy stupendous summit, rock sublime, that o'er the channel reared, halfway at sea the mariner at early morning hails, I would recline, while fancy should go forth and represent the strange and awful hour of vast concussion, when the Omnipotent stretched forth his arm and rent the solid hills, bidding the impetuous main flood rush between the rifted shores, and from the continent eternally divided this green isle. Imperial lord of the high southern coast, from thy projecting headland I would mark, far in the east, the shades of night disperse, melting and thinned, as, from the dark blue wave emerging, brilliant rays of arrowy light dart from the horizon, when the glorious sun just lifts above it his resplendent orb. Advances now, with feathery silver touched, the rippling tide of flood. Glisten the sands, while inmates of the chalky clefts that scar thy sides precipitous, with shrill harsh cry, their white wings glancing in the level beam, the terns and gulls and terraks seek their food, and thy rough hollows echo to the voice of the grey choughs and ever restless daws, with clamour not unlike the chiding hounds, while the lone shepherd and his baying dog drive to thy turfy crest his bleating flock. The high meridian of the day is past, and ocean now, reflecting the calm heaven, is of cerulean hue, and murmurs low the tide of ebb upon the level sands. The sloop, her angular canvas shifting still, catches the light and variable airs that but a little crisp the summer sea, dimpling its tranquil surface. Afar off, and just emerging from the arch immense where seem to part the elements, a fleet of fishing vessels stretch their lesser sails, while more remote, and like a dubious spot just hanging in the horizon, laden deep, the ship of commerce, richly freighted, makes her slower progress on her distant voyage, bound to the orient climates, where the sun matures the spice within its odorous shell, and, rivaling the grey worm's filmy toil, bursts from its pod the vegetable down, which, in long turbaned wreaths, from torrid heat defends the brows of Asia's countless castes. There the earth hides within her glowing breast the beamy adamant, and the round pearl enchased in rugged covering, which the slave with perilous and breathless toil tears off from the rough sea rock deep beneath the waves. These are the toys of nature, and her sport of little estimate in reason's eye, and they who reason with abhorrence see man for such gauds and baubles violate the sacred freedom of his fellow man, erroneous estimate. As heaven's pure air, fresh as it blows on this aerial height, or sound of seas upon the stony strand, or inland the gay harmony of birds, and winds that wander in the leafy woods, are to the unadulterate taste more worth than the elaborate harmony brought out from fretted stop or modulated airs of vocal science. So the brightest gems, glancing resplendent on the regal crown, or trembling in the high-born beauty's ear, are poor and paltry to the lovely light of the fair star that, as the day declines, attendant on her queen the crescent moon, bathes her bright tresses in the eastern wave. For now the sun is verging to the sea, and as he westward sinks, the floating clouds, suspended, move upon the evening gale, and gathering round his orb, as if to shade the insufferable brightness, they resign their gauzy whiteness, and, more warmed, assume all hues of purple. There transparent gold mingles with ruby tints and sapphire gleams, and colors, such as nature through her works shows only in the ethereal canopy. thither aspiring fancy fondly soars, wandering sublime through visionary vales, where bright pavilions rise, and trophies, fanned by airs celestial, and adorned with wreaths of flowers that bloom amid Elysian bowers. Now bright, and brighter still the colors glow, till half the lustrous orb within the flood seems to retire, the flood reflecting still its splendor, and in mimic glory dressed, till the last ray shot upward fires the clouds with blazing crimson. Then, in paler light, long lines of tenderer radiance lingering yield to partial darkness, and on the opposing side the early moon distinctly rising throws her pearly brilliance on the trembling tide. The fishermen, who at set seasons pass many league off at sea their toiling night, now hail their comrades from their daily task returning, and make ready for their own with the night tide commencing. The night tide bears a dark vessel on, whose hull and sails mark her a coaster from the north. Her keel now ploughs the sand, and sidelong now she leans, while with loud clamors her athletic crew unload her, and resounds the busy hum along the wave-worn rocks. Yet more remote, where the rough cliff hangs beetling o'er its base, all breathes repose. The water's rippling sound scarce heard, but now and then the sea snipe's cry just tells that something living is abroad, and sometimes crossing on the moon-bright line glimmers the skiff, faintly discerned awhile, then lost in shadow. Contemplation here, high on her throne of rock, aloof may sit, and bid recording memory unfold her scroll voluminous, bid her retrace the period when from Neustria's hostile shore the Norman launched his galleys, and the bay o'er which that mass of ruin frowns even now in vain and sullen menace, then received the new invaders, a proud martial race of Scandinavia, the undaunted sons, whom Dogon, Fierabras, and Humfroy led to conquest, while Trinacria to their power yielded her wheaten garland, and when thou, Parthenope, within thy fertile bay received the victors. In the mailed ranks of Normans landing on the British coast rode Taillefer, and with astounding voice thundered the war song daring Roland sang first in the fierce contention. Vainly brave, one not inglorious struggle England made, but failing, saw the Saxon heptarchy finish forever. Then the holy pile, yet seen upon the field of conquest, rose, where to appease heaven's wrath for so much blood, the conqueror bade unceasing prayers ascend, and requiems for the slayers and the slain. But let not modern Gallia form from hence presumptuous hopes, that ever thou again, Queen of the Isles, shalt crouch to foreign arms. The enervate sons of Italy may yield, and the Iberian, all his trophies torn and wrapped in superstition's monkish weed, may shelter his abasement and put on degrading fetters. Never, never thou, imperial mistress of the obedient sea, but thou, in thy integrity secure, shalt now undaunted meet a world in arms. England, 'twas where this promontory rears its rugged brow above the Channel wave, parting the hostile nations, that thy fame, thy naval fame, was tarnished, at what time thou, leagued with the Batavian, gavest to France one day of triumph the more loud because even then so rare. Oh, well redeemed since by a series of illustrious men, such as no other country ever reared, to vindicate her cause. It is a list which, as fame echoes it, blanches the cheek of bold ambition, while the despot feels the extorted scepter tremble in his grasp. From even the proudest roll by glory filled, how gladly the reflecting mind returns to simple scenes of peace and industry, where, bosomed in some valley of the hills, stands the lone farm, its gate with tawny ricks surrounded, and with granaries and sheds, roofed with green mosses, and by elms and ash partially shaded, and, not far removed, the hut of sea flints built, the humble home of one who sometimes watches on the heights, when, hid in the cold mist of passing clouds, the flock, with dripping fleeces, are dispersed o'er the wide down. Then from some rigid point that overlooks the sea, his eager eye watches the bark that for his signal waits to land its merchandise. Quitting for this clandestine traffic his more honest toil, the crook abandoning, he braves himself the heaviest snowstorm of December's night, when with conflicting winds the ocean raves, and on the tossing boat unfearing mounts to meet the partners of the perilous trade and share their hazard. Well it were for him, if no such commerce of destruction known, he were content with what the earth affords to human labor, even where she seems reluctant most. More happy is the hind who, with his own hands, rears on some black moor or turbary his independent hut, covered with heather, whence the slow white smoke of smouldering peat arises. A few sheep, his best possession, with his children share the rugged shed when wintry tempests blow, but when with spring's return the green blades rise amid the russet heath, the household live joint tenants of the waste throughout the day, and often from her nest among the swamps, where the gemmed sundew grows, or fringed buckbean, they scare the plover, that with plaintive cries flutters, as sorely wounded, down the wind. Rude, and but just removed from savage life, is the rough dweller among scenes like these, scenes all unlike the poet's fabling dreams describing Arcady. But he is free. The dread that follows on illegal acts he never feels, and his industrious mate shares in his labor. Where the brook is traced by crowding osiers, and the black coot hides among the plashy reeds her diving brood, the matron wades, gathering the long green rush that, well prepared, hereafter lends its light to her poor cottage, dark and cheerless else through the drear hours of winter. Otherwhile she leads her infant group where charlock grows unprofitably gay, or to the fields where congregate the linnet and the finch, that on the thistles, so profusely spread, feast in the desert. The poor family early resort, extirpating with care these and the gaudier mischief of the ground. Then flames the high-raised heap, seen afar off like hostile war-fires flashing to the sky. Another task is theirs, on fields that show as angry heaven had rained sterility, stony and cold and hostile to the plough, where, clamoring loud, the evening curlew runs and drops her spotted eggs among the flints. The mother and the children pile the stones in rugged pyramids, and all this toil they patiently encounter, well content on their flock bed to slumber undisturbed beneath the smoky roof they call their own. Oh, little knows the sturdy hind, who stands gazing with looks where envy and contempt are often strangely mingled, on the car where prosperous fortune sits, what secret care or sick satiety is often hid beneath the splendid outside. He knows not how frequently the child of luxury, enjoying nothing, flies from place to place in chase of pleasure that eludes his grasp, and that content is even less found by him than by the laborer whose pickaxe smooths the road before his chariot, and who doffs what was an hat, and as the train pass on, thinks how one day's expenditure like this would cheer him for long months, when to his toil the frozen earth closes her marble breast. Ah, who is happy? Happiness? A word that, like false fire from marsh effluvia born, misleads the wanderer destined to contend in the world's wilderness with want or woe. Yet they are happy who have never asked what good or evil means. The boy that on the river's margin gaily plays has heard that death is there. He knows not death, and therefore fears it not, and venturing in he gains a bulrush or a minnow. Then, at certain peril, for a worthless prize, a crow's or raven's nest, he climbs the bole of some tall pine, and of his prowess proud, is for a moment happy. Are your cares, ye who despise him, never worse applied? The village girl is happy, who sets forth to distant fare, gay in her Sunday suit, with cherry-colored knots and flourished shawl and bonnet newly purchased. So is he, her little brother, who his mimic drum beats, till he drowns her rural lover's oaths of constant faith and still increasing love. Ah, yet a while, and half those oaths believed, her happiness is vanished, and the boy, while yet a stripling, finds the sound he loved has led him on, till he has given up his freedom and his happiness together. I once was happy, when, while yet a child, I learned to love these upland solitudes, and when, elastic as the mountain air, to my light spirit care was yet unknown and evil unforeseen. Early it came, and childhood scarcely past, I was condemned, a guiltless exile, silently to sigh, while memory with faithful pencil drew the contrast. And regretting, I compared with the polluted, smoky atmosphere and dark and stifling streets, the southern hills that to the setting sun, their graceful heads rearing, o'erlook the frith, where Vecta breaks with her white rocks the strong impetuous tide, when western winds the vast Atlantic urge to thunder on the coast. Haunts of my youth, scenes of fond daydreams, I behold ye yet, where 'twas so pleasant by thy northern slopes to climb the winding sheep-path, aided oft by scattered thorns, whose spiny branches bore small woolly tufts, spoils of the vagrant lamb there seeking shelter from the noonday sun, and pleasant, seated on the short, soft turf, to look beneath upon the hollow way, while heavily upward moved the laboring wain, and stalking slowly by, the sturdy hind, to ease his panting team, stopped with a stone the grating wheel. Advancing higher still, the prospect widens, and the village church, but little o'er the lowly roofs around, rears its grey belfry and its simple vane. Those lowly roofs of thatch are half concealed by the rude arms of trees, lovely in spring, when on each bough the rosy tinctured bloom sits thick and promises autumnal plenty. For even those orchards round the Norman farms, which, as their owners mark the promised fruit, console them for the vineyards of the south, surpass not these. Where woods of ash and beech and partial copses fringe the green hill-foot, the upland shepherd rears his modest home. There wanders by a little nameless stream that from the hill wells forth, bright now and clear, or after rain with chalky mixture grey, but still refreshing in its shallow course the cottage garden, most for use designed, yet not of beauty destitute. The vine mantles the little casement, yet the briar drops fragrant dew among the July flowers, and pansies raid, and freaked and mottled pinks grow among balm and rosemary and rue. There honeysuckles flaunt, and roses blow almost uncultured. Some with dark green leaves contrast their flowers of pure unsullied white, others like velvet robes of regal state of richest crimson, while in thorny moss enshrined and cradled, the most lovely wear the hues of youthful beauty's glowing cheek. With fond regret I recollect even now in spring and summer what delight I felt among these cottage gardens, and how much such artless nosegays, knotted with a rush by village housewife or her ready maid, were welcome to me, soon and simply pleased. An early worshipper at nature's shrine, I loved her rudest scenes, warrens and heaths and yellow commons and birch-shaded hollows and hedgerows bordering unfrequented lanes, bowered with wild roses, and the clasping woodbine where purple tassels of the tangling vetch with bittersweet and brionnean weave, and the dew fills the silver bindweed's cups. I loved to trace the brooks whose humid banks nourish the harebell and the freckled pagal, and stroll among o'ershadowing woods of beech, lending in summer from the heats of noon a whispering shade, while haply there reclines some pensive lover of uncultured flowers, who from the tumps with bright green mosses clad plucks the wood sorrel with its light thin leaves, heart-shaped and triply folded, and its root creeping like beaded coral, or who there gathers the copse's pride, anemones, with rays like golden studs on ivory laid, most delicate, but touched with purple clouds, fit crown for April's fair but changeful brow. Ah, hills so early loved! In fancy still I breathe your pure keen air, and still behold those widely spreading views, mocking alike the poet and the painter's utmost art, and still, observing objects more minute, wondering remark the strange and foreign forms of seashells with the pale calcareous soil mingled, and seeming of resembling substance, though surely the blue ocean, from the heights where the downs westward trend, but dimly seen, here never rolled its surge. Does nature then mimic, in wanton mood, fantastic shapes of bivalves and inwreathed volutes that cling to the dark sea rock of the watery world? Or did this range of chalky mountains once form a vast basin, where the ocean waves swelled fathomless? What time these fossil shells, buoyed on their native element, were thrown among them bedding calx, when the huge hill its giant bulk heaved, and in strange ferment grew up a guardian barrier twixt the sea and the green level of the sylvan weald. Ah, very vain is science proudest boast, and but a little light its flame yet lends to its most ardent votaries, since from whence these fossil forms are seen is but conjecture, food for vague theories or vain dispute, while to his daily task the peasant goes, unheeding such inquiry, with no care but that the kindly change of sun and shower fit for his toil the earth he cultivates. As little recks the herdsman of the hill, who on some turfy knoll, idly reclined, watches his weather flock, that deep beneath rest the remains of men, of whom is left no traces in the records of mankind, save what these half-obliterated mounds and half-filled trenches doubtfully impart to some lone antiquary on times remote, since which 2,000 years have rolled away, loves to contemplate. He perhaps may trace, or fancy he can trace, the oblong square where the mailed legions under Claudius reared the rampire or excavated fossey delved, what time the huge unwieldy elephant, auxiliary reluctant, hither led from Afric's forest glooms and tawny sands, first felt the northern blast, and his vast frame sunk useless, whence in after ages found the wondering hinds on those enormous bones gazed, and in giants dwelling on the hills believed and marveled. Hither, ambition, come and behold the nothingness of all for which you carry through the oppressed earth war and its train of horrors. See where tread the numerous hoofs of flocks above the works by which the warrior sought to register his glory and immortalize his name. The pirate Dane, who from his circular camp bore in destructive robbery fire and sword down through the vale, sleeps unremembered here, and here, beneath the green sward, rests alike the savage native, who his acorn meal shared with the herds that ranged the pathless woods, and the centurion, who on these wide hills encamping planted the imperial eagle, all, with the lapse of time, have passed away, even as the clouds, with dark and dragon shapes, or like vast promontories crowned with towers, cast their broad shadows on the downs, then sail far to the northward, and their transient gloom is soon forgotten. But from thoughts like these, by human crimes suggested, let us turn to where a more attractive study courts the wanderer of the hills, while shepherd girls will from among the fescue bring him flowers of wondrous mockery, some resembling bees in velvet vest, intent on their sweet toil, while others mimic flies that lightly sport in the green shade or float along the pool, but here seem perched upon the slender stalk and gathering honey-dew, while in the breeze that wafts the thistle's plumed seed along, bluebells wave tremulous, the mountain thyme purples the hassock of the heaving mole, and the short turf is gay with tormentil and bird's-foot trefoil, and the lesser tribes of hawkweed, spangling it with fringed stars. Near where a richer tract of cultured land slopes to the south, and burnished by the sun, bend in the gale of August floods of corn. The guardian of the flock, with watchful care, repels by voice and dog the encroaching sheep, while his boy visits every wired trap that scars the turf, and from the pitfalls takes the timid migrants, who from distant wilds, warrens, and stone quarries are destined thus to lose their short existence. But unsought by luxury yet, the shepherd still protects the social bird, who from his native haunts of willowy current or the rushy pool follows the fleecy crowd and flirts and skims in fellowship among them. Where the knoll more elevated takes the changeful winds, the windmill rears its vanes, and thitherward with his white load the master, travelling, scares the rooks rising slow on whispering wings, while o'er his head, before the summer sun lights up the blue expanse, heard more than seen, the lark sings matins, and above the clouds floating, embathes his spotted breast in dew. Beneath the shadow of a gnarled thorn bent by the sea blast, from a seat of turf with fairy nosegay strewn, how wide the view! Till in the distant north it melts away, and mingles indiscriminate with clouds. But if the eye could reach so far, the mart of England's capital, its domes and spires might be perceived. Yet hence the distant range of Kentish hills appear in purple haze, and nearer undulate the wooded heights and airy summits that above the mole rise in green beauty, and the beaconed ridge of black down shagged with heath, and swelling rude like a dark island from the vale, its brow catching the last rays of the evening sun that gleam between the nearer park's old oaks, then lighten up the river, and make prominent the portal, and the ruined battlements of that dismantled fortress, raised what time the conqueror's successors fiercely fought, tearing with civil feuds the desolate land. But now a tiller of the soil dwells there, and of the turrets' looped and raftered halls has made an humbler homestead, where he sees, instead of armed foemen, herds that graze along his yellow meadows, or his flocks at evening from the upland driven to fold. In such a castellated mansion once a stranger chose his home, and where, hard by, in rude disorder fallen and hid with brushwood, lay fragments gray of towers and buttresses, among the ruins often he would muse. His rustic meal soon ended, he was wont to wander forth, listening the evening sounds of rushing milldam, or the distant team or night-jar chasing fern-flies. The tired hind passed him at nightfall, wondering he should sit on the hilltop so late. They from the coast, who sought bypaths with their clandestine load, saw with suspicious doubt the lonely man cross on their way, but village maidens thought his senses injured, and with pity say that he, poor youth, must have been crossed in love, for often, stretched upon the mountain turf with folded arms, and eyes intently fixed where ancient elms and firs obscured a grange, some little space within the vale below, they heard him as complaining of his fate, and to the murmuring wind of cold neglect and baffled hope he told. The peasant girls these plaintive sounds remember, and even now among them may be heard the stranger's songs. Were I a shepherd on the hill, and ever as the mists withdrew could see the willows of the rill shading the footway to the mill where once I walked with you, and as away night's shadows sail, and sounds of birds and brooks arise, believe that from the woody vale I hear your voice upon the gale in soothing melodies. And viewing from the alpine height the prospect dressed in hues of air, could say, while transient colours bright touched the fair scene with dewy light, 'tis that her eyes are there. I think I could endure my lot and linger on a few short years, and then by all but you forgot, sleep where the turf that clothes the spot may claim some pitying tears. For 'tis not easy to forget one who through life has loved you still, and you, however late, might yet, with sighs to memory given, regret the shepherd of the hill. Yet otherwhile it seemed as if young Hope her flattering pencil gave to Fancy's hand, and in his wanderings reared to soothe his soul ideal bowers of pleasure. Then of solitude and of his hermit life still more enamored, his home was in the forest, and wild fruits and bread sustained him. There in early spring the barkmen found him, ere the sun arose. There, at their daily toil, the wedge-cutters beheld him through the distant thicket move. The shaggy dog, following the truffle hunter, barked at the loiterer, and perchance at night belated villagers from fair or wake, while the fresh night wind let the moonbeams in between the swaying boughs, just saw him pass, and then in silence, gliding like a ghost, he vanished, lost among the deepening gloom. But near one ancient tree, whose wreathed roots formed a rude couch, love songs and scattered rhymes, unfinished sentences or half-erased, and rhapsodies like this were sometimes found. Let us to woodland wilds repair, while yet the glittering night dews seem to wait the freshly breathing air, precursive of the morning beam that, rising with advancing day, scatters the silver drops away. An elm, uprooted by the storm, the trunk with mosses gray and green, shall make for us a rustic form where lighter grows the forest scene, and far among the bowery shades are ferny lawns and grassy glades. Retiring May to lovely June her latest garland now resigns. The banks with cuckoo flowers are strewn, the woodwalks blue with columbines, and with its reeds the wandering stream reflects the flag flower's golden gleam. There, feathering down the turf to meet, their shadowy arms the beeches spread, while, high above our sylvan seat, lifts the light ash its airy head, and later-leaved the oaks between extend their boughs of vernal green. The slender birch its paper rind seems offering to divided love, and, shuddering even without a wind, aspens their paler foliage move, as if some spirit of the air breathed a low sigh in passing there. The squirrel, in his frolic mood, will fearless bound among the boughs. Yaffles laugh loudly through the wood, and murmuring ring-doves tell their vows, while we, as sweetest wood scents rise, listen to woodland melodies. And I'll contrive a sylvan room against the time of summer heat, where leaves, inwoven in nature's loom, shall canopy our green retreat, and gales that close the eye of day shall linger ere they die away. And when a sere and sallow hue from early frost the bower receives, I'll dress the sand-rock cave for you, and strew the floor with heath and leaves, that you against the autumnal air may find securer shelter there. The nightingale will then have ceased to sing her moonlight serenade, but the gay bird with blushing breast and woodlarks still will haunt the shade, and by the borders of the spring reed wrens will yet be carolling. The forest hermit's lonely cave none but such soothing sounds shall reach, or hardly heard the distant wave slow breaking on the stony beach, or winds that now sigh soft and low, now make wild music as they blow. And then, before the chilling north, the tawny foliage falling light seems, as it flits along the earth, the footfall of the busy sprite, who, wrapped in pale autumnal gloom, calls up the mist-born mushroom. Oh, could I hear your soft voice there, and see you in the forest green, all beauteous as you are, more fair you'd look amid the sylvan scene, and in a wood girl's simple guise be still more lovely in mine eyes. Ye phantoms of unreal delight, visions of fond delirium born, rise not on my deluded sight, then leave me drooping and forlorn, to know such bliss can never be, unless Amanda loved like me. The visionary, nursing dreams like these, is not indeed unhappy. Summer woods wave over him, and whisper as they wave some future blessings he may yet enjoy. And as above him sail the silver clouds, he follows them in thought to distant climes, where, far from the cold policy of this, dividing him from her he fondly loves, he in some island of the southern sea may haply build his cane-constructed bower beneath the breadfruit or aspiring palm, with long green foliage rippling in the gale. Oh, let him cherish his ideal bliss, for what is life when hope has ceased to strew her fragile flowers along its thorny way, and sad and gloomy are his days who lives of hope abandoned. Just beneath the rock where Beachy overpeers the channel wave, within a cavern mined by wintry tides, dwelt one who, long disgusted with the world and all its ways, appeared to suffer life rather than live. The soul-reviving gale, fanning the bean-field or the thymy heath, had not for many summers breathed on him, and nothing marked to him the season's change, save that more gently rose the placid sea, and that the birds which winter on the coast gave place to other migrants, save that the fog, hovering no more above the beetling cliffs, betrayed not then the little careless sheep on the brink grazing, while their headlong fall near the lone hermit's flint-surrounded home claimed unavailing pity. For his heart was feelingly alive to all that breathed, and outraged as he was in sanguine youth by human crimes, he still acutely felt for human misery. Wandering on the beach, he learned to augur from the clouds of heaven and from the changing colors of the sea and sullen murmurs of the hollow cliffs, or the dark porpoises that near the shore gamboled and sported on the level brine, when tempests were approaching. Then at night he listened to the wind, and as it drove the billows with o'erwhelming vehemence, he, starting from his rugged couch, went forth, and hazarding a life too valueless, he waded through the waves with plank or pole towards where the mariner, in conflict dread, was buffeting for life the roaring surge. And now just seen, now lost in foaming gulfs, the dismal gleaming of the clouded moon showed the dire peril. Often he had snatched from the wild billows some unhappy man who lived to bless the hermit of the rocks. But if his generous cares were all in vain, and with slow swell the tide of morning bore some blue swollen course to land, the pale recluse dug in the chalk a sepulchre above where the dank sea-wrack marked the utmost tide, and with his prayers performed the obsequies for the poor helpless stranger. One dark night, the equinoctial wind blew south by west fierce on the shore. The bellowing cliffs were shook even to their stony base, and fragments fell, flashing and thundering on the angry flood. At daybreak, anxious for the lonely man, his cave the mountain shepherds visited, though sand and banks of weeds had choked their way. He was not in it, but his drowned corse by the waves wafted near his former home received the rites of burial. Those who read chiseled within the rock these mournful lines, memorials of his sufferings, did not grieve that, dying in the cause of charity, his spirit, from its earthly bondage freed, had to some better region fled forever. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Bleak season was it, turbulent and bleak, by William Wordsworth. Read for LibriVox.org by Peter Tucker. Bleak season was it, turbulent and bleak, when hitherward we journeyed side by side, through burst of sunshine and through flying showers. Paced the long vales, how long they were, and yet how fast that length of way was left behind. Wensley's rich vale and Sedberg's naked heights, the frosty wind, as if to make amends for its keen breath, was aiding to our steps, and drove us onward like two ships at sea, or like two birds, companions in mid-air, parted and reunited by the blast. Stern was the face of nature. We rejoiced in that stern countenance, for our souls thence drew a feeling of their strength. The naked trees, the icy brooks, as on we passed, appeared to question us, whence come ye, to what end? End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Bound and Free by Robert Frost. Read for LibriVox.org by Teresa Cazzaro, Kenosha, Wisconsin. Love has earth to which she clings, with hills and circling arms about, wall within wall to shut fear out. But thought has need for no such things, for thought has a pair of dauntless wings. On snow and sand and turf I see where love has left a printed trace, with straining in the world's embrace. And such is love, and glad to be. But thought has shaken his ankles free. Thought cleaves the interstellar gloom, and sits in serious disk all night, till day makes him retrace his flight, with smell of burning on every plum, back past the sun to an earthly room. His gains in heaven are what they are, yet some say love by being thrall, and simply staying possesses all. In several beauty that thought fares far, to find fused in another star. End of Bound and Free. This is a recording in the public domain.
The Call of the Wild by Robert W. Service. Read for LibriVox.org by stepheather. 29th of September, 2024, Bangalore, India. Have you gazed on naked grandeur where there's nothing else to gaze on, set pieces and drop curtain scenes galore? Big mountains heaved to heaven, which the blinding sunsets blazon, black canyons where the rapids rip and roar. Have you swept the visioned valley with the green stream streaking through it, searched the vastness for something you have lost? Have you strung your soul to silence? Then for God's sake go and do it. Hear the challenge, learn the lesson, pay the cost. Have you wandered in the wilderness, the sagebrush desolation, the bunchgrass levels where the cattle graze? Have you whistled bits of ragtime at the end of all creation, and learned to know the desert's little ways? Have you camped upon the foothills? Have you galloped o'er the ranges? Have you roamed the arid sunlands through and through? Have you chummed up with the mesa? Do you know its moods and changes? Then listen to the wild. It's calling you. Have you known the great white silence, not a snow-gemmed twig a-quiver, eternal truths that shame our soothing lies? Have you broken trail on snowshoes, mushed your huskies up the river, dared the unknown, led the way, and clutched the prize? Have you marked the map's void spaces, mingled with the mongrel races, felt the savage strength of brute in every thew? And though grim as hell the worst is, can you round it off with curses? Then hearken to the wild. It's wanting you. Have you suffered, starved, and triumphed, groveled down yet grasped at glory, grown bigger in the bigness of the whole? Done things just for the doing, letting babblers tell the story, seeing through the nice veneer the naked soul? Have you seen God in his splendors, heard the text that nature renders? You'll never hear it in the family pew. The simple things, the true things, the silent men who do things. Then listen to the wild. It's calling you. They have cradled you in custom. They have primed you with their preaching. They have soaked you in convention through and through. They have put you in a showcase. You're a credit to their teaching. But can't you hear the wild? It's calling you. Let us probe the silent places. Let us seek what luck betide us. Let us journey to a lonely land I know. There's a whisper on the night wind. There's a star agleam to guide us. And the wild is calling, calling. Let us go. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Dirge by Robert Calverley Trevelyan. Read for LibriVox.org by Bruce Kachuk. Gone is he now. One flower the less is left to make for thee less lone earth's wilderness, where thou must still live on. What hath been ne'er may be again, yet oft of old to cheat despair, tales false and fair in vain of death were told. O vain belief, o'erweening dreams! Trust not fond hope, nor think that bliss, which neither seems nor is, aught else than grief.
End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Dust by Rupert Brooke. Read for LibriVox.org by Bruce Kachuk. When the white flame in us is gone, and we that lost the world's delight stiffen in darkness, left alone to crumble in our separate night. When your swift hair is quiet in death, and through the lips corruption thrust has stilled the labor of my breath. When we are dust, when we are dust, not dead, not undesirous yet, still sentient, still unsatisfied, we'll ride the air, and shine, and flit around the places where we died, and dance as dust before the sun, and light of foot, and unconfined, hurry from road to road, and run about the errands of the wind. And every mote on earth or air will speed and gleam down later days, and like a secret pilgrim fare by eager and invisible ways, nor ever rest, nor ever lie, till beyond thinking, out of view, one mote of all the dust that's I shall meet one atom that was you. Then in some garden, hushed from wind, warm in a sunset's afterglow, the lovers in the flowers will find a sweet and strange unquiet grow upon the peace, and past desiring so high a beauty in the air, and such a light, and such acquiring, and such a radiant ecstasy there, they'll know not if it's fire or dew, or out of earth, or in the height, singing or flame, or scent, or hue, or two that pass, in light to light, out of the garden, higher, higher. But in that instant they shall learn the shattering fury of our fire, and the weak, passionless hearts will burn and faint in that amazing glow, until the darkness close above, and they will know, poor fools, they'll know, one moment, what it is to love.
End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Irwin, or The Braes of Kirtle, by William Wordsworth. Read for LibriVox.org by Peter Tucker. Fair Irwin, when she sat upon the braes of Kirtle, was lovely as a Grecian maid adorned with wreaths of myrtle. Young Adam Bruce beside her lay, and there did they beguile the day with love and gentle speeches beneath the budding beeches. From many knights and many squires the Bruce had been selected, and Gordon, fairest of them all, by Ellen was rejected. Sad tidings to that noble youth, for it may be proclaimed with truth, if Bruce hath loved sincerely, that Gordon loves as dearly. But what are Gordon's form and face, his shattered hopes and crosses, to them, mid Kirtle's pleasant braes, reclined on flowers and mosses? Alas, that ever he was born! The Gordon, couched behind a thorn, sees them and their caressing, beholds them blessed and blessing. Proud Gordon, maddened by the thoughts that through his brain are travelling, rushed forth, and at the heart of Bruce he launched a deadly javelin. Fair Ellen saw it as it came, and starting up to meet the same, did with her body cover the youth, her chosen lover. And falling into Bruce's arms, thus died the beauteous Ellen, thus from the heart of her true love the mortal spear repelling. And Bruce, as soon as he had slain the Gordon, sailed away to Spain, and fought with rage incessant against the Moorish crescent. But many days and many months and many years ensuing, this wretched knight did vainly seek the death that he was wooing. So coming his last help to crave, heart-broken, upon Ellen's grave his body he extended, and there his sorrow ended. Now ye who willingly have heard the tale I have been telling, may in Garconnell churchyard view the grave of lovely Ellen. By Ellen's side the Bruce is laid, and for the stone upon his head may no rude hand deface it, and its forlorn hic jacet. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The End by A. Milne. Read for LibriVox.org by Tony Scheinman. When I was 1, I had just begun. When I was 2, I was nearly new. When I was 3, I was hardly me. When I was 4, I was not much more. When I was 5, I was just alive. But now I am 6. I'm as clever as clever. So I think I'll be 6 now, for ever and ever. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
For My Own Monument by Matthew Pryor. Read for LibriVox.org by Ike Sherr. As doctors give physic by way of prevention, Matt, alive and in health, of his tombstone took care. For delays are unsafe, and his pious intention may haply be never fulfilled by his heir. Then, take Matt's word for it, the sculptor is paid. That the figure is fine, pray believe your own eye. Yet credit but lightly what more may be said. for we flatter ourselves, and teach marble to lie. Yet counting as far as to 50 his years, his virtues and vices were as other men's are. High hopes he conceived, and he smothered great fears in a life part I covered, half pleasure, half care. Nor to business a drudge, nor to faction a slave, he strove to make interest and freedom agree. In public employments industrious and grave, and alone with his friends, Lord, how merry was he! Now in equipage stately, now humbly on foot, both fortunes be tried, but to neither would trust. And whirled in the round as the wheel turned about, he found riches had wings, and knew man was but dust. This verse, little polished, though mighty sincere, sets neither his titles nor merit to view. It says that his relics collected lie here, and no mortal yet knows, too, if this may be true. Fierce robbers there are that infest the highway, so Mat may be killed and his bones never found. False witness at court, and fierce tempests at sea, so Mat may yet chance to be hanged or be drowned. If his bones lie in earth, roll in sea, fly in air, to fate we must yield, and the thing is the same. And if passing thou giv'st him a smile or a tear, he cares not, yet prithee, be kind to his fame. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Ghost by Winifred Letts, read for LibriVox.org by Newgatenovelist. My lady, musing at her mirror, said, "This is my burial night, for I am dead." Hope dug the grave and laid my sad heart there. Sorrow was sexton, heavy-footed Care the lantern-bearer. Love in sober stole was priest, while fickle joy stayed but to toll the bell for me. Then memory graved the stone, and all being done, they left me there alone. But though the grave is made, the earth close pressed about my heart, tomorrow I must rise, put on my gay attire, laugh and jest, lest one should read the secret in my eyes, lest one should know that in this careless host of revellers I linger as a ghost. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
God's Grandeur by Jared Manley Hopkins, read for LibriVox.org by Terrance Callan. The world is charged with the grandeur of God. It will flame out like shining from shook foil. It gathers to a greatness like the ooze of oil crushed. Why do men then now not wreck his rod? Generations have trod, have trod, have trod, and all is seared with trade, bleared, smeared with toil, and wears man's smudge and shares man's smell. The soil is bare now, nor can foot feel being shod. And for all this nature is never spent. There lives the dearest freshness deep down things, and though the last lights off the black west went, oh, morning at the brown brink eastward springs, because the Holy Ghost over the bent world broods with warm breast and with, bright wings. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
A Good Play by Robert Louis Stevenson, read for LibriVox.org by Roger Smith. A Good Play. We built a ship up on the stairs, all made of the back bedroom chairs, and filled it full of sofa pillows, to go a-sailing on the billows. We took a saw and several nails, and water in the nursery pails. And Tom said, let us also take an apple and a slice of cake, which was enough for Tom and me to go a-sailing on till tea. We sailed along for days and days, and had the very best of plays. But Tom fell out and hurt his knee, so there was no one left but me. End of recording. This recording is in the public domain.
Hallow-e'en, 1914, by Winifred Letts. Read for LibriVox.org by Newgatenovelist. Why do you wait at your door, woman, alone in the night? I am waiting for one who will come, stranger, to show him a light. He will see me afar on the road, and be glad at the sight. Have you no fear in your heart, woman, to stand there alone? There is comfort for you, and kindly content beside the hearthstone. But she answered, no rest can I have till I welcome my own. Is it far he must travel tonight, this man of your heart? Strange lands that I know not, and pitiless seas have kept us apart, and he travels this night to his home, without guide, without chart. And has he companions to cheer him? Aye, many, she said. The candles are lighted, the hearthstones are swept, the fires glow red. We shall welcome them out of the night, our homecoming dead. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. Hallow-e'en, 1915, by Winifred Letts. Read for LibriVox.org by Newgatenovelist. Will you come back to us, men of our hearts, tonight, in the misty close of the brief October day? Will you leave the alien graves where you sleep, and steal away to see the gables and eaves of home grow dark in the evening light? O men of the manor and moated hall and farm, come back tonight, treading softly over the grass. The dew of the autumn dusk will not betray where you pass. The watchful dog may stir in his sleep, but he'll raise no hoarse alarm. Then you will stand, not strangers, but wishful to look at the kindly lamplight shed from the open door, and the fire-lit casement where one, having wept you sore, sits dreaming alone with her sorrow, not heeding her open book. Forgotten awhile the weary trenches, the dome of pitiless eastern sky, in this quiet hour, when no sound breaks the hush but the chimes from the old church tower, and the river's song at the weir, ah, then we will welcome you home. You will come back to us, just as the robin sings Nunc Dimittis from the larch to a sun late set in purple woodlands, when caught like silver fish in a net, the stars gleam out through the orchard boughs, and the church owl flaps his wings. We have no fear of you, silent shadows, who tread the leaf-bestrewn paths, the dew-wet lawns. Drawn near to the glowing fire, the empty chair, we shall not fear, being but ghosts for the lack of you, ghosts of our well-beloved dead. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Hart-Leap Well by William Wordsworth. Read for LibriVox.org by Peter Tucker. Part the First. The night had ridden down from Wensley Moor with the slow motion of a summer's cloud, and now as he approached a vassal's door, "Bring forth another horse," he cried aloud. Another horse, that shout the vassal heard, and saddled his best steed, a comely grey. Sir Walter mounted him, he was the third which he had mounted on that glorious day. Joy sparkled in the prancing courser's eyes, the horse and horseman are a happy pair, but though Sir Walter like a falcon flies, there is a doleful silence in the air. A rout this morning left Sir Walter's hall, that as they galloped made the echoes roar, but horse and man are vanished, one and all. Such race, I think, was never seen before. Sir Walter, restless as a veering wind, calls to the few tired dogs that yet remain. Blanche, Swift, and Music, noblest of their kind, follow and up the weary mountains strain. The knight hallooed, he cheered and chid them on with suppliant gestures and upbraidings stern. But breath and eyesight fail, and one by one the dogs are stretched among the mountain fern. Where is the throng, the tumult of the race? The bugles that so joyfully were blown? This chase it looks not like an earthly chase. Sir Walter and the hart are left alone. The poor hart toils along the mountain side. I will not stop to tell how far he fled, nor will I mention by what death he died. But now the knight beholds him lying dead. Dismounting then he leaned against a thorn. He had no follower, dog, nor man, nor boy. He neither cracked his whip, nor blew his horn, but gazed upon the spoil with silent joy. Close to the thorn on which Sir Walter leaned stood his dumb partner in this glorious feat, weak as a lamb the hour that it has yeaned, and white with foam as if with cleaving sleet. Upon his side the hart was lying stretched, his nostril touched a spring beneath a hill, and with the last deep groan his breath had fetched, the waters of the spring were trembling still. And now, too happy for repose or rest, never had living man such joyful lot, Sir Walter walked all round, north, south, and west, and gazed upon that darling spot. And climbing up the hill, it was at least 4 roods of sheer ascent, Sir Walter found 3 several hoof-marks which the hunted beast had left imprinted on the grassy ground. Sir Walter wiped his face and cried, "Till now such sight was never seen by human eyes. 3 leaps have borne him from this lofty brow down to the very fountain where he lies. I'll build a pleasure-house upon this spot, and a small arbour made for rural joy. 'Twill be the traveller's shed, the pilgrim's cot, a place of love for damsels that are coy. A cunning artist will I have to frame a basin for that fountain in the dell, and they who do make mention of the same from this day forth shall call it Hart-Leap Well. And, gallant stag, to make thy praises known, another monument shall here be raised, 3 several pillars, each a rough-hewn stone, and planted where thy hoofs the turf have grazed. And in the summer-time, when days are long, I will come hither with my paramour, and with the dancers and the minstrel's song we will make merry in that pleasant bower. Till the foundations of the mountains fail, my mansion with its arbour shall endure, the joy of them who till the fields of Swale, and them who dwell among the woods of Ure." Then home he went, and left the hart stone dead, with breathless nostrils stretched above the spring. Soon did the knight perform what he had said, and far and wide the fame thereof did ring. Ere thrice the moon into her port had steered, a cup of stone received the living well. 3 pillars of rude stone Sir Walter reared, and built a house of pleasure in the dell. And near the fountain, flowers of stature tall, with trailing plants and trees were intertwined, which soon composed a little sylvan hall, a leafy shelter from the sun and wind. And thither, when the summer days were long, Sir Walter led his wandering paramour, and with the dancers and the minstrel's song made merriment within that pleasant bower. The knight Sir Walter died in course of time, and his bones lie in his paternal vale. But there is matter for a second rhyme, and I to this would add another tale. Part the Second. The moving accident is not my trade. To freeze the blood I have no ready arts. 'Tis my delight, alone in summer shade, to pipe a simple song for thinking hearts. As I from Hawes to Richmond did repair, it chanced that I saw standing in a dell 3 aspens at 3 corners of a square, and one not 4 yards distant near a well. What this imported I could ill divine, and pulling now the rein my horse to stop, I saw 3 pillars standing in a line, the last stone pillar on a dark hill top. The trees were grey, with neither arms nor head. Half wasted the square mound of tawny green, so that you just might say, as then I said, here in old time the hand of man hath been. I looked upon the hill both far and near, more doleful place did never I survey. It seemed as if the springtime came not here, and nature here were willing to decay. I stood in various thoughts and fancies lost, when one who was in shepherd's garb attired came up the hollow. Him did I accost, and what this place might be I then inquired. The shepherd stopped, and that same story told which in my former rhyme I have rehearsed. A jolly place, said he, in times of old, but something ails it now, the spot is cursed. You see these lifeless stumps of aspen wood? Some say that they are beeches, others elms. These were the bower, and here a mansion stood, the finest palace of 100 realms. The arbour does its own condition tell. You see the stones, the fountain, and the stream. But as to the great lodge, you might as well hunt half a day for a forgotten dream. There's neither dog, nor heifer, horse, nor sheep will wet his lips within that cup of stone, and oftentimes, when all are fast asleep, this water doth send forth a dolorous groan. Some say that here a murder has been done, and blood cries out for blood, but for my part I've guessed, when I've been sitting in the sun, that it was all for that unhappy heart. What thoughts must through the creature's brain have passed? Even from the topmost stone upon the steep are but 3 bounds, and look, sir, at this last. Oh, master, it has been a cruel leap. For 13 hours he ran a desperate race, and in my simple mind we cannot tell what cause the heart might have to love this place, and come and make his deathbed near the well. Here on the grass perhaps asleep he sank, lulled by the fountain in the summer tide. This water was perhaps the first he drank when he had wandered from his mother's side. In April here beneath the flowering thorn he heard the birds their morning carols sing, and he perhaps, for aught we know, was born not half a furlong from that self-same spring. Now here is neither grass nor pleasant shade, the sun on drearier hollow never shone. So will it be, as I have often said, till trees and stones and fountain all are gone. Grey-headed shepherd, thou hast spoken well. Small difference lies between thy creed and mine. This beast not unobserved by nature fell. His death was mourned by sympathy divine. The being that is in the clouds and air, that is in the green leaves among the groves, maintains a deep and reverential care for the unoffending creatures whom he loves. The pleasure house is dust, behind, before, this is no common waste, no common gloom, but nature in due course of time once more shall here put on her beauty and her bloom. She leaves these objects to a slow decay, that what we are and have been may be known, but at the coming of the milder day these monuments shall all be overgrown. One lesson, shepherd, let us two divide, taught both by what she shows and what conceals, never to blend our pleasure or our pride with sorrow of the meanest thing that feels. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Heap of Rags by William Henry Davies. Read for LibriVox.org by Bruce Kachuk. One night when I went down Thames side in London town, a heap of rags saw I, and sat me down close by. That thing could shout and bawl, but showed no face at all. When any steamer passed, and blew a loud shrill blast, that heap of rags would sit, and make a sound like it. When struck the clock's deep bell, it made those peals as well. When winds did moan around, it mocked them with that sound. When all was quiet, it fell into a strange fit, would sigh and moan and roar. It laughed and blessed and swore. Yet that poor thing I know had neither friend nor foe. Its blessing or its curse made no one better or worse. I left it in that place, the thing that showed no face. Was it a man that had suffered till he went mad? So many showers and not one rainbow in the lot. Too many bitter fears, to make a pearl from tears.
End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Heather-ale by Robert Louis Stevenson. Read for LibriVox.org by Alan Mapstone. A Galloway Legend. From the bonny bells of heather they brewed a drink, lang syne, was sweeter far than honey, was stronger far than wine. They brewed it and they drank it, and lay in a blessed swound, for days and days together, in their dwellings underground. There rose a king in Scotland, a fell man to his foes. He smote the Picts in battle, he hunted them like roes. Over miles of the Red Mountain he hunted as they fled, and strewed the dwarfish bodies of the dying and the dead. Summer came in the country, red was the heather bell, but the manner of the brewing was none alive to tell. In graves that were like children's, on many a mountain head, the brewsters of the heather lay numbered with the dead. The king in the red moorland rode on a summer's day, and the bees hummed and the curlews cried beside the way. The king rode and was angry, black was his brow and pale, to rule in a land of heather, and lack the heather ale. It fortuned that his vassals, riding free on the heath, came on a stone that was fallen, and vermin hid beneath. Rudely plucked from their hiding, never a word they spoke. A son and his aged father, last of the dwarfish folk. The king sat high on his charger, he looked on the little men, and the dwarfish and swarthy couple looked at the king again. Down by the shore he had them, and there on the giddy brink, I will give you life, ye vermin, for the secret of the drink. There stood the son and father, and they looked high and low. The heather was red around them, the sea rumbled below. And up and spoke the father, shrill was his voice to hear. I have a word in private, a word for the royal ear. Life is dear to the ages, and honour a little thing. I would gladly sell the secret, quoth the Pict to the king. His voice was small as a sparrow's, and shrill and wonderful clear. I would gladly sell my secret, only my son I fear. For life is a little matter, and death is naught to the young, and I dare not sell my honour under the eye of my son. Take him, O king, and bind him, and cast him far in the deep, and it's I will tell the secret that I have sworn to keep. They took the son and bound him, neck and heels in a thong, and a lad took him and swung him, and flung him far and strong, and the sea swallowed his body, like that of a child of 10, and there on the cliff stood the father, last of the dwarfish men. True was the word I told you, only my son I feared, for I doubt the sapling courage that goes without a beard. But now in vain is torture, fire shall never avail. Here dies in my bosom the secret of heather ale. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Here's to the Maiden of Bashful 15 by Unknown. Read for LibriVox.org by stepheather. 7th of November 2024, Bangalore, India. Here's to the Maiden of Bashful 15, now to the widow of 50. Here's to the flaunting extravagant queen, and here's to the housewife that's thrifty. Let the toast pass, drink to the lass, I warrant shall prove an excuse for the glass. Here's to the charmer whose dimples we prize, now to the damsel with none, sir. Here's to the girl with a pair of blue eyes, and now to the nymph with but one, sir. Let the toast pass, drink to the lass, I warrant shall prove an excuse for the glass. Here's to the maid with a bosom of snow, now to her that's as brown as a berry. Here's to the wife with a face full of woe, and now to the damsel that's merry. Let the toast pass, drink to the lass, I warrant shall prove an excuse for the glass. For let her be clumsy or let her be slim, young or ancient, I care not a feather. So fill up a bumper, nay, fill to the brim, and let us e'en toast 'em together. Let the toast pass, drink to the lass, I warrant shall prove an excuse for the glass. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
I Am by John Clare. Recorded for LibriVox by Bartholomew Begley, Dublin, November 2024. I am. Yet what I am, none cares or knows. My friends forsake me, like a memory lost. I am the self-consumer of my woes. They rise and vanish in oblivion's host, like shades in love and death oblivion lost. And yet I am, and live, with shadows tossed into the nothingness of scorn and noise, into the living sea of waking dreams, where there is neither sense of life nor joys, but the vast shipwreck of my life's esteems. And e'en the dearest that I loved the best are strange, nay, rather, stranger than the rest. I long for scenes where man hath never trod, a place where woman never smiled or wept, there to abide with my Creator God, and sleep as I in childhood sweetly slept, untroubling and untroubled where I lie, the grass below, above the vaulted sky. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Inverse Nade by Jared Manley Hopkins. Read for LibriVox.org by Terrance Callan. This darksome burn, horseback brown, his roll rock high road roaring down, in coop and in comb the fleece of his foam flutes and low to the lake falls home. A wind-puff bonnet of fawn froth turns and twindles over the broth of a pool so pitch-black, fell frowning, it rounds and rounds despair to drowning. Degged with dew, dappled with dew, are the groins of the braes that the brook treads through, wiry heath-packs, flitches of fern, and the bead bonny ash that sits over the burn. What would the world be once bereft of wet and of wildness? Let them be left, oh, let them be left, wildness and wet. Long live the weeds and the wilderness yet. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
A Japanese Woodcarving by Amy Lowell. Read for LibriVox.org by Fenman. High up above the open, welcoming door it hangs, a piece of wood with colours dim. Once, long ago, it was a waving tree, and knew the sun and shadow through the leaves of forest trees, in a thick eastern wood. The winter snows had bent its branches down, the spring had swelled its buds with coming flowers, summer had run like fire through its veins, while autumn pelted it with chestnut burrs and strewed the leafy ground with acorn cups. Dark midnight storms had roared and crashed among its branches, breaking here and there a limb. But every now and then broad sunlit days lovingly lingered, caught among the leaves. Yes, it had known all this, and yet to us it does not speak of mossy forest ways, of whispering pine trees or the shimmering birch, but of quick winds and the salt stinging sea. An artist once, with patient careful knife, had fashioned it like to the untamed sea. Here waves uprear themselves, their tops blown back by the gay sunny wind, which whips the blue and breaks it into gleams and sparks of light. Among the flashing waves are two white birds, which swoop and soar and scream for the very joy at the wild sport. Now diving quickly in, questing some glistening fish, now flying up, their dripping feathers shining in the sun, while the wet drops, like little glints of light, fall pattering backward to the parent sea. Gliding along the green and foam-flecked hollows, or skimming some white crest about to break, the spirits of the sky deigning to stoop and play with ocean in a summer mood. Hanging above the high, wide open door, it brings to us in quiet, firelit room the freedom of the earth's vast solitudes, where heaping sunny waves tumble and roll, and seabirds scream in wanton happiness. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
A Land Dirge by John Webster, recorded for LibriVox by Bartholomew Begley, Dublin, November 2024. Call for the robin redbreast and the wren, since o'er shady groves they hover, and with leaves and flowers do cover the unloved bodies of unburied men. Call unto his funeral dole the ant, the field mouse, and the mole, to rear him hillocks that shall keep him warm, and when gay tombs are robbed, sustain no harm, but keep the wolf far from thence, that's foe to men, or with his nails he'll dig them up again. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Land of Counterpane by Robert Louis Stevenson. Read for LibriVox.org by Roger Smith. The Land of Counterpane. When I was sick and lay abed, I had 2 pillows at my head, and all my toys beside me lay to keep me happy all the day. And sometimes for an hour or so I'll watch my leaden soldiers go, with different uniforms and drills, among the bedclothes through the hills, and sometimes sent my ships and fleets all up and down among the sheets, or brought my trees and houses out, and planted cities all about. I was the giant great and still, that sits upon the pillow hill, and sees before him dale and plain, the pleasant land of Counterpane. End of recording. This recording is in the public domain. The Land of Nod by Robert Louis Stevenson. Read for LibriVox.org by Roger Smith. The Land of Nod. From breakfast on through all the day, at home among my friends I stay. But every night I go abroad, afar into the Land of Nod. All by myself I have to go, with none to tell me what to do. All alone beside the streams, and up the mountain sides of dreams. The strangest things are there for me, both things to eat and things to see, and many frightening sights abroad, till morning in the Land of Nod. Try as I like to find the way, I never can get back by day, nor can remember plain and clear the curious music that I hear. End of recording. This recording is in the public domain.
A London Thoroughfare, 2 a.m. by Amy Lowell. Read for LibriVox.org by Fenman. They have watered the street. It shines in the glare of lamps, cold white lamps, and lies like a slow-moving river, barred with silver and black. Cabs go down it, one and then another. Between them I hear the shuffling of feet. Tramps doze on the window ledges. Night walkers pass along the sidewalks. The city is squalid and sinister, with the silver-barred street in the midst. Slow-moving, a river leading nowhere. Opposite my window, the moon cuts clear and round through the plum-coloured night. She cannot light the city, it is too bright. It has white lamps and glitters coldly. I stand in the window and watch the moon. She is thin and lustreless, but I love her. I know the moon, and this is an alien city. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Myself and Me by Frank R. Heine. Read for LibriVox.org by mleigh. Unlike George Cohan, the jumbler doesn't love himself. 'Tis torrid here, and all have gone to seashore on a trot. I'm left alone, alas, and I'm the only friend I've got. I've walked with me and talked with me until I'm satiate. I'm sick and tired and bored with me. The thought of me I hate. Divorce I'd have 'tween self and me. For happiness I'd strike. We're surely incompatible, 'cause too darned much alike. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The No Dance by Sir Edwin Arnold. Read for LibriVox.org by Arden. July 27, 2024. The No Dance. Yamada-san said, "Come and see the No. These songs and dances of our old Japan. They make the ancient music faithfully this evening at my lord the governor's. You shall be honorably pleased. What best Kyoto boasts of geishas will be there, with Nara's koto player, Haru-san to beat the drum. Moyuki-san's the boy. O Suru plays the fairy in first dance, the feather dress. So to the governor's that evening, through the lanes of lamps we went, and when the feast was ended on the mats, 3 sides of a full square of friendliness, the stage the fourth, and each guest well content, hemmed in with 20 little lacquered bowls, showed like a ship at moorings, with the boats clustering around, and black-haired musumes brimmed the last sake cup, and Gohan came, the silvered shoji decked with maple leaves, opened a space to let the music in. 2 samisens, a double drum, a flute. Then with low reverences the no began. So saw we, after many preludings of string and skin, O Yuki-san paced forth a fisherman. No chance to err herein, seeing she bore the net and balanced tubs, and great brass knife to slice the tara thin. All as you note them at Enoshima. Moreover, fan in hand, she sings a song, to tell us how her name's Hakurio, her dwelling Miwo's pine grove, and her life a fisher lad's, reaping the deep green sea for silver harvests of the silly shoals, which, caught by hundreds, come in thousands more, to the spread mesh. Mighty the draught will be. So chanced the sea-boy sauntering from his boat. Now the cold rains are over, and the sky round about Fuji's head glows pearl and gold, with high above the hardly rippling waves. Yon gilded sickle of the new-made moon, leading the pale lamp of the evening star, attendant like some heavenly musume. Oh, at a springtide so delectable, with purple iris fringing all the rice, and fiery lilies flaming in the rye. The air so soft, the pines whispering so low, the dragonflies, like fairy spears of steel, darting or poised, the velvet butterflies fluttering to sip the last sweets of the rape, before the great sun goes. At such an hour, the gods themselves might come a while to earth. So sings young Hakurio. And, behold, suddenly, hanging on a branch of fir, a wondrous sight he spies. The samisens twangle surprise. The drums beat hey hey hey, while Yuki-san, a tiptoe, reaches down a many-tinctured fairy-patterned robe, all gold and scarlet and celestial white, of feathers wove, but feathers of such birds as surely never perched on earthly tree. The lining shot with airy tender tints, as of a broken rainbow. Glad he scans the strange bright treasure trove. Another such Saruga never saw. Narumi's looms never dreamed such a marvel. Light of heart, into his hut dances Hakurio, casting the nets aside to clasp the robe. Next, very softly trill the samisens. The drums beat muted, and the flute pipes forth expectant tones, while light as falling snow or breath of morning breeze, whispering its way through the awakening maple leaves, glides in a heavenly fairy. 'Tis Osuru-san, and neck, breast, slender little amber limbs, or bare as the brown sea-sand. Just one cloth, tied with a sky-blue string about the waist, half covers her. Sweetly and movingly, at the hut door she sings, O thou within that hast my robe of feathers, open now and give what is not thine, but only mine. Then see we, kneeling watchful on the mats, O Yuki-san come tripping from the hut, clasping the feather dress. But when she marks O Suru-san bowing before the door, look how she stands, Yuki the fisher lad, out of his wits with well-shown wonderment. So beautiful the dark-eyed weeper is, unclad, and pleading with those lovely tears. Down on his face falls young Hakurio, and thus they talk, with samisens to help. She, Fisher boy, give back to me the dress I hanged upon the tree. He, O thou, well clad in beauty bright, form of glory, face of light, honorably deign to tell where such charms celestial dwell. What thy name august may be, fairest first reveal to me. She, I am come from heaven's domain. If I spoke it ne'er so plain, you my name could never hear, as the angels say it there. Flying past your little star, all so fair it looked afar, silvery sea and snow-tipped hill, that I had an idle will once to set my foolish feet on those flowers that shone so sweet. So I laid my robe aside in the tree which she was spied, and without it, shame and woe. To my home I cannot go. He, loveliest lady, little mind had I at the first my find, ever to surrender, now when you deign to tell me how. If I keep it, you must stay, no more for your garment pray. She, ah, why did I quit my sky, where yon happy sea-birds fly, and the wild swan spreads her wings, while the wind between them sings, and the free storks urge their flight, strong across the spangled night? Render back my robe, and soon I shall soar beyond the moon, thread the star-paths and pursue light and life beyond the blue. Mortal, 'tis impiety not to give mine own to me. He, always I would have you here, fairy, bright and sweet and dear. Will you not, for love of love, let go longing for above? I would let go all but life, if I might but make you wife. She, fisher boy, this sea of thine maddens thee with mighty wine. Fair thou art, yet thou and I are as is the sea and sky, which may meet but cannot marry. If for love of you I'd tarry, 'twere as though a cloud should wed with some hilltop, soft night sped. Lone the hill rises, touch my hand, and better shalt thou understand. He, I cannot take it, plain I see the soft smooth skin so velvety, of hand and wrist, yet when I clasp, it is a mist melts in my grasp. Now I would give you back this dress, if you will change such loveliness to solid flesh, not floating air. O thou than living flesh more fair. She, peace, most foolish boy and fond, I am what those are beyond, more substantial, didst thou know, than this flesh and blood below. Give me back the robe whereby I may once more reach my sky, and for deed of gentlesse, when I don again my dress, I will dance to do thee pleasure, one round of our heavenly measure. I will sing to comfort thee one strain of the melody heard by souls divine in sphere where the light is lovelier. He, ah, to see you fly I dread when I yield this wonder. Tread first your measure, lady sweet, then I place it at your feet. She, shame upon thee, I have heard men will break a plighted word, but with us this is not so. All unveiled the spirits go, and nay is nay, and yes is yes. I dance not else, give me the dress. Then see we how Curio, blushing deep, lay at her foot the golden feathered gown, alight with silvery white and scarlet fires. And while the samisens make chords of joy, O Siru kneels and gathers wistfully the shining marvel around her shoulders, laughs for pleasure to be safe replumed, then glides, with voice of melting notes, and paces fair, falling as light as fir cones, to the dance. She, now it is mine again. I am fain, to pay you true as a spirit should do, with secrets of heaven made plain. Yet not for long can I sing this song, nor dance the dance of the skies. Your earth shows fair, but dense is the air, and we wonder not if your eyes, a very small part of the splendor see, laid upon river and lea, only one gleam of the glory shed from Fuji's diademed head, down to this leaf of the momiji tree, which knows and courtesies to me. For I and the maple leaf are one, as we hear, the tender unnoticed tone of your earth's voice ceaseless and clear, and we move to the swing of your star in the ring. She weaves round the flying sun, weaves so, which the waves understand, and the wind and the sand, but you cannot ever know. 'Twere good you should have watched, O Siru-san. Deftly paced this with little lifted feet, shod in the white silk tabi, and soft lips, making the melodies to guide her feet. The music sitting silent, or at most, dropping a high note in now and again. Then, with her fan before her face, or waved in dreamy curves, she sang a verse of love. We and the fisher boy still on our knees. She, and love, sweet love, oh less than the splendor spread, from Fuji's head, to the sea and the grass and the grove. Know ye the deep things of this? A little men taste its bliss, and the beloved one's charms, and the close wound arms and the spirits which almost kiss, through their dividing bodies and delight of mother love and father love and friends, hand fast and heart fast. But death's sudden night comes, and in gloom it seems love's sunshine ends. Thus love's warm golden wing shields not from shuddering the souls it covers, chilled with dread to part. Ah, could I tell, who see it near and well, the far truth freely to each beating heart, not on your tearful planet once again should love be pain, nor from your blinded eyes should salt tears start, but that which I would teach hath in your human speech no words to name such comfort rich and great. Therefore dream on, asleep, and dreaming weep, and wait, a little yet a little wait. So, where in such wise and soft Japanese the ancient Uta flowed and fluttered to it, O Tsuru-san's light silks kirtle and sleeve, and closed and opened to it her brown arms, while crystal tears stood in her eyes at times, singing of sorrowful love, till, with a laugh, she stayed and brake into the planet dance, joyously circling, singing, beating time. She, steps of my silvery star, dancing alone afar, so still, so slow, no mortal may know how stately her footsteps are, nor what fair music is guide of her feet, solemn and high and sweet, all in a tune to the sun and the moon and the drums that the glad worlds beat. As long a path as your little orb goes, from the first of her flowers to the last of her snows, my white home sweeps in a night, knowing not haste, knowing no rest, for delight in the life of her silver light, and joy of the wide blue waste, where the angels pass like fish through the sea's green glass. But you cannot see that sight, and, while we did not speak for wistfulness, watching the woven paces, wondering to note how foot and tongue kept faultless time, to dreamy tinkling of the samisens across her breast that golden feathered gown, softly she drew, spread her brown arms like wings, and passed. O Yuki-san, and we alone, the no dance ended. Thanks, dear Tsuru-san. Yet half we wish O Yuki had not given. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
November Night by Adelaide Crapsey. Read for LibriVox.org by Winston Tharp. Listen, with faint dry sound, like steps of passing ghosts, the leaves, frost crisped, break from the trees and fall. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Ode by Arthur O'Shaughnessy, read for LibriVox.org by Terrance Callan. We are the music makers, and we are the dreamers of dreams, wandering by lone sea breakers and sitting by desolate streams, world losers and world forsakers, on whom the pale moon gleams. Yet we are the movers and shakers of the world forever, it seems. With wonderful deathless ditties we build up the world's great cities, and out of a fabulous story we fashion an empire's glory. One man with a dream at pleasure shall go forth and conquer a crown, and three with a new song's measure can trample a kingdom down. We in the ages lying in the buried past of the earth built Nineveh with our sighing, and Babel itself in our mirth, and o'erthrew them with prophesying to the old of the new world's worth, for each age is a dream that is dying, or one that is coming to birth. A breath of our inspiration is the life of each generation, a wondrous thing of our dreaming, unearthly, impossible seeming. The soldier, the king, and the peasant are working together in one, till our dream shall become their present, and their work in the world be done. They had no vision amazing of the goodly house they are raising. They had no divine foreshowing of the land to which they are going. But on one man's soul it hath broken, a light that doth not depart, and his look or a word he hath spoken wrought flame in another man's heart. And therefore today is thrilling with a past day's late fulfilling, and the multitudes are enlisted in the faith that their fathers resisted, and scorning the dream of tomorrow and bringing to pass as they may, in the world for its joy or its sorrow, the dream that was scorned yesterday. But we with our dreaming and singing, ceaseless and sorrowless we, the glory about us clinging of the glorious futures we see, our souls with high music ringing, O men, it must ever be, that we dwell in our dreaming and singing, a little apart from ye. For we are afar with the dawning, and the suns that are not yet high, and out of the infinite morning, intrepid you hear us cry, how in spite of your human scorning, once more God's future draws nigh, and already goes forth the warning that ye of the past must die. Great hail, we cry to the comers from the dazzling unknown shore. Bring us hither your sun and your summers, and renew our world as of yore. You shall teach us your song's new numbers, and things that we dreamed not before. Yea, in spite of a dreamer who slumbers, and a singer who sings no more. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
One Struggle More and I Am Free, by Lord Byron. Read for LibriVox by MoonLylith. One struggle more, and I am free from pangs that rend my heart in twain. One last long sigh to love and thee, then back to busy life again. It suits me well to mingle now with things that never pleased before, though every joy is fled below. What future grief can touch me more? Then bring me wine, the banquet to bring. Man was not formed to live alone. I'll be that light, unmeaning thing that smiles with all and weeps with none. It was not thus in days more dear, it never would have been, but thou hast fled and left me lonely here. Thou'rt nothing, all are nothing now. In vain my lyre would lightly breathe the smile that sorrow fain would wear, but mocked the woe that lurks beneath, like roses o'er a sepulchre. Though gay companions o'er the bowl dispel awhile the sense of ill, though pleasure fires the maddening soul, the heart is lonely still. And many a lone and lovely night it soothed to gaze upon the sky. For then I deemed a heavenly light shone sweetly on thy pensive eye, and oft I thought at Cynthia's noon, when sailing o'er the Aegean wave, now Thyrza gazes on that moon. Alas, it gleamed upon her grave, when stretched on fever's sleepless bed, and sickness shrunk my throbbing veins. 'Tis comfort still, I faintly said, that Thyrza cannot know my pains. Like freedom to the time-worn slave, a boon 'tis idle then to give. Relenting nature vainly gave my life when Thyrza ceased to live. My Thyrza's pledge in better days, when love and life alike were new, how different now thou meet'st my gaze, how tinged by time with sorrow's hue. The heart that gave itself with thee is silent, were mine as still. though cold as e'en the dead can be, it feels, it sickens with the chill. Thou bitter pledge, thou mournful token, thou painful welcome to my breast! Still preserve that love unbroken, or break the heart to which thou'rt pressed. Time tempers love, but not removes, more hallowed when its hope is fled. Oh, what are 1,000 living loves to that which cannot quit the dead? End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Pierre by Maurice Baring, from Selections from Modern Poets, 1921. Read for LibriVox.org by Dale Grothman. I saw you starting another war, the emblem of adventure and youth, so that men trembled, saying, "He forsook, has gone, and shall return no more." And then out there they told me you were dead, taken and killed. How was it that I knew? Whatever else is true, that was not true. And then I saw you, pale upon your bed, scarcely a year ago, when you were sent back from the margin of the dim abyss, for death had sealed you with a warning kiss, and let you go to meet a nobler fate, to serve in fellowship, O fortunate, to die in battle with your regiment. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Poetry by Marianne Moore. Read for LibriVox.org by Winston, Tharp. I too dislike it. There are things that are important beyond all this fiddle. Reading it, however, with a perfect contempt for it, one discovers that there is in it, after all, a place for the genuine. Hands that can grasp, eyes that can dilate, hair that can rise if it must. These things are important not because a high-sounding interpretation can be put upon them, but because they are useful. When they become so derivative as to become unintelligible, the same thing may be said for all of us, that we do not admire what we cannot understand. The bat holding on upside down, or in quest of something to eat. Elephants pushing, a wild horse taking a roll, a tireless wolf under a tree. The immovable critic twinkling his skin like a horse that feels the flea. The baseball fan, the statistician, case after case could be cited, did one wish it. Nor is it valid to discriminate against business documents and school books. All these phenomena are important. One must make a distinction, however. When dragged into prominence by half-poets, the result is not poetry, nor till the autocrats among us can be literalists of the imagination, above insolence and triviality, and can present for inspection imaginary gardens with real toads in them, shall we have it. In the meantime, if you demand on one hand, in defiance of their opinion, the raw material of poetry and all its rawness, and that which is on the other hand genuine, then you are interested in poetry. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Prologue for Giles Corey of the Salem Farms by Henry Wadsworth Longfellow. Read for LibriVox.org by Alan Mapstone. Delusions of the days that once have been, witchcraft and wonders of the world unseen, phantoms of air and necromantic arts that crush the weak and awed the stoutest hearts, These are our theme tonight, and vaguely here, through the dim mists that crowd the atmosphere, we draw the outlines of weird figures cast in shadow on the background of the past. Who would believe that in the quiet town of Salem and amid the woods that crown the neighbouring hillsides and the sunny farms that fold it safe in their paternal arms, who would believe that in those peaceful streets, where the great elms shut out the summer heats, where quiet reigns and breathes through brain and breast the benediction of unbroken rest, who would believe such deeds could find a place as these whose tragic history we retrace? 'Twas but a village then. The good man ploughed his ample acres under sun or cloud. The good wife at her doorstep sat and spun, and gossiped with her neighbours in the sun. The only men of dignity and state were then the minister and the magistrate, who ruled their little realm with iron rod, less in the love than in the fear of God, and who believed devoutly in the powers of darkness working in this world of ours, in spells of witchcraft, incantations dread, and shrouded apparitions of the dead. Upon this simple folk with fire and flame, saith the old chronicle, the devil came, scattering his firebrands and his poisonous darts, to set on fire of hell all tongues and hearts. And 'tis no wonder, for with all his host there most he rages where he hateth most, and is most hated. So on us he brings all these stupendous and portentous things. Something of this our scene tonight will show, and ye who listen to the tale of woe, be not too swift in casting the first stone, nor think New England bears the guilt alone. This sudden burst of wickedness and crime was but the common madness of the time, when in all lands that lie within the sound of Sabbath bells, a witch was burned or drowned. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Raven by Edgar Allan Poe. Read by Bananafish on LibriVox.org. Once upon a midnight dreary, while I pondered weak and weary over many a quaint and curious volume of forgotten lore, while I nodded, nearly napping, suddenly there came a tapping, as of someone gently rapping at my chamber door. "'Tis some visitor," I muttered, tapping at my chamber door. "Only this, and nothing more." Ah, distinctly I remember it was in the bleak December, and each separate dying ember wrought its ghost upon the floor. Eagerly I wished the morrow, vainly I had sought to borrow from my books a cease of sorrow, sorrow for the lost Lenore, for the rare and radiant maiden whom the angels name Lenore, nameless here forevermore. And the silken and uncertain rustling of each purple curtain thrilled me, filled me with fantastic terrors never felt before. So that now, to still the beating of my heart, I stood repeating, "'Tis some visitor entreating entrance at my chamber door, some late visitor entreating entrance at my chamber door. This it is, and nothing more." Presently my soul grew stronger, hesitating then no longer. "Sir," said I, "or madam, truly, but the fact is I was napping, and so gently you came rapping, and so faintly you came tapping at my chamber door, that I scarce was sure I heard you. Here I opened wide the door, darkness there, nothing more. Deep into that darkness peering, long I stood there, wondering, fearing, doubting, dreaming dreams no mortal ever dared to dream before. But the silence was unbroken, and the darkness gave no token, and the only word there spoken was the whispered word, "Lenore." This I whispered, and an echo murmured back the word, "Lenore." Merrily this and nothing more. Back into the chamber turning, all my soul within me burning, soon again I heard a tapping somewhat louder than before. "Surely," said I, "surely it is something at my window lattice. Let me see then what threat is, and this mystery explore. Let my heart be still a moment, and this mystery explore. 'Tis the wind and nothing more." Open here I flung the shutter, when with many a flirt and flutter in there stepped a stately raven of the saintly days of yore. Not the least obeisance made he, not a minute stopped or stayed he, but with mien of lord or lady perched above my chamber door, perched upon a bust of Pallas just above my chamber door, perched and sat and nothing more. Then this ebony bird, beguiling my sad fancy into smiling, by the grave and stern decorum of the countenance it wore, "Though thy crest be shorn and shaven, thou," I said, "art sure no craven, ghastly, grim, and ancient raven, wandering from the nightly shore. Tell me what thy lady name is on the night's plutonian shore." Quoth the raven, "Nevermore." Much I marvel this ungainly fowl to hear discourse so plainly, though its answer little meaning, little relevancy bore. For we cannot help agreeing that no living human being ever yet was blessed with seeing bird above his chamber door, bird or beast upon the sculpted bust above his chamber door, with such name as Nevermore. But the raven, sitting lonely on the placid bust, spoke only that one word, as if his soul that one word he did outpour. Nothing further than he uttered, not a feather than he fluttered, till I scarcely more than muttered, "Other friends have flown before. On the morrow he will leave me, as my hopes have flown before." Then the bird said, "Nevermore." Startled at the stillness, broken by a reply so aptly spoken, "Doubtless," said I, "what it utters is its only stock and store, caught from some unhappy master, whom unmerciful disaster followed fast and followed faster, till his songs once burden bore, to the dirges of his hope that melancholy burden bore, of nevermore." But the raven, still beguiling all my sad soul into smiling, straight I wheeled a cushioned seat in front of bird and bust and door. Then upon the velvet sinking, I betook myself to linking fancy unto fancy, thinking what this ominous bird of yore, what this grim, ungainly, ghastly, gum, and ominous bird of yore meant in croaking "Nevermore." This I sat engaged in guessing, but no syllable expressing, to the fowl whose fiery eyes now burned into my bosom's core. This and more I sat divining, with my head at ease reclining on the cushion's velvet lining that the lamplight gloated o'er, but whose velvet violet lining with the lamplight gloating o'er she shall press, nevermore. Then the methought the air grew denser, perfumed from an unseen censer, swung by seraphim whose footfalls tingled on the tuttle-dusted floor. Wretch, I cried, thy God hath lent thee, by these angels he had sent thee, respite, and nepenthe from thy memories of Lenore. Quaff, quaff this kind nepenthe, and forget this lost Lenore. Quoth the raven, nevermore. Prophet, said I, thing of evil, prophet still, if bird or devil, whether tempter sent or whether tempest tossed thee here ashore, desolate yet all undaunted on this desert land enchanted, on this home by horror haunted, tell me truly, I implore, is there balm in Gilead? Tell me, I implore. Quoth the raven, nevermore. Prophet, said I, thing of evil, prophet still, if bird or devil, by that heaven that bends above us, by that God we both adore, tell this soul with sorrow laden, if within this distant Aden it shall clasp a sainted maiden whom angels name Lenore, clasp a rare and radiant maiden whom the angels name Lenore. Quoth the raven, nevermore. Be that word our sign of parting, bird or fiend, I shrieked, upstarting, get thee back into the tempest and the night's Plutonian shore. Leave no black plume as a token of that lie thy soul hath spoken. Leave my loneliness unbroken. Quit the bust above my door. Take thy beak from out my heart, and take thy form from off my door. Quoth the raven, nevermore. And the raven, never flitting, still is sitting on the pallid bust of Pallas, just above my chamber door, and his eyes have all the seeming of a demon's that is dreaming, and the lamplight o'er him streaming throws his shadows on the floor, and my soul from out that shadow that lies floating on the floor shall be lifted nevermore. The end. The Raven. This recording is in the public domain.
A Skeletonade by Michael Drayton. Read for LibriVox.org by Public Domain Scholar. A Skeletonade. The muse should be sprightly, yet not handling lightly things grave, as much loathe things that be slight, to clothe curiously, to retain the comeliness and mean, its true knowledge and wit, not me forced rage doth fit, that I thereto should lack tobacco or neat sack, which to the colder brain is the true hippocrene, nor did I ever care for great fools, nor them spare. Virtue, though neglected, is not so dejected as vilely to descend to low baseness therein. Neither each rhyming slave deserves the name to have of poet, so the rabble of fools for the table that have their jests by heart, as an actor his part, might assume them chairs among the muses' airs. Parnassus is not clomb by every such mome, up whose steep side who swerves. It behooves to have strong nerves. My resolution such, how well and not how much, for I thus do I fare, like some few good that care the evil sort among, how well to live, and not how long. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Sneasels by A. Milne. Read for LibriVox.org by Tony Scheinman. Christopher Robin had weasels and sneasels. They bundled him into his bed. They gave him what goes with a cold in the nose, and some more for a cold in the head. They wondered if weasels could turn into measles, if sneezels would turn into mumps. They examined his chest for a rash and the rest of his body for swellings and lumps. They sent for some doctors in sneezels and weasels to tell them what ought to be done. All sorts and conditions of famous physicians came hurrying round at a run. They all made a note of the state of his throat. They asked if he suffered from thirst. They asked if the sneezels came after the weasels or if the first sneezel came first. They said, "If you teasel, a sneezel or weasel, a measle may easily grow. But humour or pleasel, the weasel or sneezel, the measle will certainly go." They expounded the reasons for sneezels and weasels, the manner of measles when new. They said, "If he freezels in troughs and in breezels, then diesels may even ensue." Christopher Robin got up in the morning. The sneezels had vanished away, and the look in his eye seemed to say to the sky, "Now how to amuse them today." End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Soldier by Robert Frost. Read for LibriVox.org by Winston, Tharp. He is that fallen lance that lies as hurled, that lies uplifted now, come dew, come rust, but still lies pointed as it ploughed the dust. If we who sight along it round the world see nothing worthy to have been its mark, it is because, like men, we look too near, forgetting that as fitted to the sphere our missiles always make too short an arc. They fall, they rip the grass, they intersect the curve of earth, and striking, break their own. They make us cringe from metal point on stone. But this we know, the obstacle that checked and tripped the body shot the spirit on farther than target ever showed or shone. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Statues by Donald Wandry. From Weird Tales, October 1927. Read for LibriVox.org by Dale Grothman. As one who wildly dreams, I knocked. With clang, on long metallic clang, the brazen door rose upward, and I found myself before weird, lifeless birds that laughed and harshly sang. Quick to my side, two black, sleek leopards sprang, with eyes of golden fury, and a score of graven figures burst into a roar, whose mirthless muttering through the palace rang. And so the leopards led me on and on, through vast dark marbles stood in endless aisles. And then I saw these Titans. Thereupon their hideous marble laughter leapt long miles. But when I passed and left them in the gloom, vacant halls were quiet as a tomb. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
A Strong Hand by Aaron Hill. Read for LibriVox.org by Ike Sherr. Tender-handed stroke a nettle, and it stings you for your pains. Grasp it like a lad of metal, and its soft as silk remains. So it is with these fair creatures. Use them kindly, they rebel. But be rough as nutmeg graters, and the rogues obey you well. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. Two by Winthrop Mackworth Praed. Read for LibriVox.org by Ike Sherr. We met but in one giddy dance, good night joined hands with greeting, and 20,000 things may chance before our second meeting. For oh, I have been often told that all the world grows older, and hearts and hopes today so cold, tomorrow must be colder. If I have never touched the string beneath your chamber, dear one, and never said one civil thing when you were by to hear one, if I made no rhymes about those looks which conquer stoics, and heard those angel tones without one fit of fair heroics, yet do not, though the world's cold school some bitter truths has taught me, oh, do not deem me quite the fool which wiser friends have thought me. There is one charm I still could feel, if no one laughed at feeling. One dream my lute could still reveal, if it were worth revealing. But folly little cares what name of friend or foe she handles, when merriment directs the game and midnight dims the candles. I know that folly's breath is weak, and would not stir a feather, but yet I would not have her speak your name and mine together. Oh no, this life is dark and bright, half rapture and half sorrow. My heart is very full tonight, my cup shall be tomorrow. But they shall never know from me on any one condition whose health made bright my burgundy, whose beauty was my vision. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
To his very worthy and much honoured friend, Mr. Isaac Walton, upon his excellent life of Mr. George Herbert, by Samuel Woodford. Read for LibriVox.org by Alan Mapstone. 1. Heaven's youngest son, it's Benjamin, divinity's next brother, sacred poesy, no longer shall a virgin reckoned be. Whate'er with others 'tis, by me, a female muse, as were the 9. But full of vigour masculine, an essence male, with angels his companions shine, with angels first the heavenly youth was bred, and when a child instructed them to sing the praises of the immortal King, who Lucifer in triumph led. For as in chains the monster sank to hell, and tumbling headlong down the precipice fell, by him first taught, how art thou fallen, thou morning star, they said. Too fondly then we'd have fancied him a maid. We, the vain brethren of the rhyming trade, a female angel less would Irwin's skill upbraid. 2. Thus 'twas in heaven, this poesy's sex and age, and when he thence to our world came down, he chose a form more like his own, and Jesse's youngest son inspired with holy rage. The sprightly shepherd felt unusual fire, and up he took his tuneful lyre. He took it up and struck it, and his own soft touches did admire. Thou, poesy, on him didst bestow thy choicest gift, a honour showed before to none, and to prepare his way to the Hebrew throne, gavest him thy empire and dominion, the happy land of verse, where flow rivers of milk and woods of laurel grow, wherewith thou didst adorn his brow, and madest his first more flourishing and triumphant crown. Assist me thy great prophet's praise to sing, David the poet's and blessed Israel's king, and with the dancing echo let the mountains ring. Then on the wings of some auspicious wind, let his great name from earth be raised on high, and in the starry volume of the sky a lasting record find. Be with his mighty psaltery joined, which, taken long since up into the air, and called the harp, makes a bright constellation there. 3. Worthy it was to be translated hence, and there in view of all exalted hang, to which so oft the princely prophet sang, and mystic oracles did dispense. Though, had it still remained below, more wonders of it we had seen, how great the mighty Herbert's skill had been. Herbert, who could so much without it do, Herbert, who did its chords distinctly know, more perfectly than any child of verse below. Oh, had we known him half so well! But then, my friend, there had been left for you nothing so fair and worthy praise to do, who so exactly all his story tell, that though he did not want his bays, nor all the monuments virtue can raise, your hand he did to eternize his praise. Herbert and Donne again are joined, now here below as there above. These friends are in their old embraces twined, and since by you the interview's designed, too weak to part them death doth prove. For in this book they meet again, as in one heaven they love. Benstead, April the 3rd, 1670. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
To Thyrza by Lord Byron. Read for LibriVox.org by MoonLylith. Without a stone to mark the spot and say what truth might well have said by all, save one perchance forgot. Ah, wherefore art thou lowly laid? By many a shore and many a sea divided, yet beloved in vain. The past, the future fled to thee, to bid us meet. No, ne'er again could this have been. A word, a look, that softly said we part in peace, had taught my bosom how to brook with fainter sighs thy soul's release. And didst thou not, since death for thee prepared a light and pangless dart, once long for him thou ne'er shalt see, who held and holds thee in his heart? Oh, who like him had watched thee here, or sadly marked thy glazing eye, in that dread hour ere death appear, when silent sorrow fears to sigh till all was past, but when no more 'twas thine to reck of human woe, affection's heart drops, gushing o'er, had flowed as fast as now they flow. Shall they not flow when many a day in these to me deserted towers, ere called but for time away, affection's mingling tears were ours? Ours too, the glance none saw beside, the smile none else might understand, the whispered thought of hearts allied, the pressure of the thrilling hand. the kiss, so guiltless and refined, the love each warmer wish forbore, those eyes proclaimed so pure a mind, even passion blushed to plead for more. The tone that taught me to rejoice when prone, unlike thee to repine, the song celestial from thy voice, but sweet to me from none but thine. The pledge we wore, I wear it still, but where is thine? Ah, where art thou? Oft have I borne the weight of ill, but never bent beneath till now. Well hast thou left in life's best bloom the cup of woe for me to drain. If rest alone be in the tomb, I would not wish thee here again. But if in worlds more blessed than this thy virtues seek a fitter sphere, impart some portion of thy bliss to wean me from mine anguish here. Teach me, too early taught by thee, to bear, forgiving and forgiven. On earth thy love was such to me, it fain would form my hope in heaven. October 11th, 1811. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Wind on the Hill by A. Milne. Read for LibriVox.org by Tony Scheinman. No one can tell me, nobody knows, where the wind comes from, where the wind goes. It's flying from somewhere as fast as it can. I couldn't keep up with it, not if I ran. But if I stopped holding the string of my kite, it would blow with the wind for a day and a night. And then when I found it, wherever it blew, I should know that the wind had been going there too. So then I could tell them where the wind goes. But where the wind comes from, nobody knows. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.